Hey guys, it's Matt from the Better on Draft podcast. If you're like me, anytime you go out, whether it's to a bar or out with friends, you're always going to grab the newest, hottest craft beer. You're always going to ask the waitstaff what's new, and when you go to your friend's house, you're going to ask and grab the newest thing that you've never had in the back of their fridge. The worst part about craft beer is when you find a beer that you love that's new, you never know where to find it. Well, I'll tell you what, stop looking at Kroger, stop looking at Meijer. Go to Zatuna Liquor in Rochester Hills, just south of 59 on Rochester Road. If it's out there, if it's in cans, if it's in bottles, Jack has it. Stop in, say hi to Jack or Gus. Get that beer that you've been traveling all over the city for in one stop. While you're there, top-of-the-line liquor, great cigars, everything you need to make you happy is at Zatuna Liquor, just south of M59 in Rochester Hills on Rochester Road.
Why do we love it so much? Is it their beer club membership that gets you discounts on food, beer, and even beer to go? Or even information on their new and experimental releases? Or is it their new full menu program that pairs well with the brown ale? Why not head over there for yourself, test your knowledge Wednesday nights with some pub trivia, and tell them we sent you. You can find them on North Center Road, just south of 8 Mile in Northville, Michigan. They're open Tuesday to Sunday, but you can also find them on Facebook under the name North Center Brewing Company. Cheers.
Better on Draft fans, we truly appreciate you joining us each and every week as we go over the news and interview someone from the industry. If you subscribe to us on iTunes, please leave us a rating and review it. Helps us get our word out. Also, take this time to go to our Facebook and like it. Check out the daily lulls for lunch that Matt posts. Also, follow us on Twitter and Instagram. The name for all three is Better on Draft. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel for video of every episode, youtube.com/Better on Draft, as well as check out our Untapped page for what we drank each and every Friday night under the name BOD Podcast. Also, you can watch us live and chat with us while we are live at twitch.tv/BOD Podcast every Friday from 7 p.m. until 9 p.m. Eastern. And no matter what you think of our show, we think it's Better on Draft.
The Better on Draft podcast is recorded live in Royal Oak, Michigan. Now, pop that 40 and kick back with your hosts, Dan, Nick, Ken, Rob, Matt, and Angela.
And we are live, episode 132 of the Better on Draft podcast. It is gorgeous outside, Memorial Day weekend, and we have a table filled with beer and ready to be drank. Missing today is Nick and Rob, and who are those guys? Well, Dan just shows up kind of like when it happens. He's just like, hey, I'm here. I think he doesn't even call and tell me he's in town. He's just like, hey, I'm showing up.
I can hear Nick here. I'm sure someone just told a joke because I can hear his laugh from
he does have a very, it's not like even a belly laugh. It's just like a back of the throat laugh. But we do have a guest in studio today.
Multiple guests.
Multiple guests, yes. Guest as in, plural. You can plural guests without having to say guests or multiple guests.
Is that true?
Typically, you use the S. Rather than that.
I don't know.
Typically, that's how I know.
I don't. This is not better on English. This
didn't
is
mean
not
to challenge
English
you.
on draft. Oh my God. Jeez, we're just cracking open so many beers. Matt, what's going on today?
Hi, Ken. I took a pilgrimage to the Zatuna Liquor in Rochester Hills, just south of 59, and I picked up a little bit of a plethora.
It just tastes like juice.
Well, what did you just sample?
The pineapple
tangerine. So I cracked the pineapple tangerine fruitsko, which I had at Ale Mary's a couple weeks ago, which is pretty much if they can Sunny D. I remember this being in my lunchbox as a child, this being almost trading currency in elementary school.
Get the snack pack for it.
But this is super good. It's basically, 5% alcohol, a little 4.5% alcohol, crushable can. And then
I think that other drink tastes more like Sunny D.
this wonderful large
I haven't got to it yet.
battery that I was given from Jack's Tuna is the Cody Austin Juice Berliner Weiss with passion fruit mango and white peach.
Here, let me see it so I can throw it in front of the camera.
And it apparently is out of Richmond, Virginia. And Angela has saw it before I even walked in. And it's delicious. It's basically a bigger thing of Sunny D. So it is quite good. Are you still on your Maduro kick?
So I accidentally left these here last week. Somebody put them in the fridge, and so they were cold when I got here. I was very happy. Well, they didn't drink them.
Also very good.
Last time I left beer here, I left 4 bottles of No Rules from Perrin, and literally that night I said, hey, I left these bottles. Can you make sure you grab them? And somebody said, well, I already drank one.
Stop. Are you serious?
Honest to God, that
Who
was the
drank
response.
one?
So it was warm, like room temp, not even warmed up to room temp. It was just straight room temp. And I'm like, who? Because none of the people here in the studio are beer snobs like us. So it's not like they would appreciate like a beer like that at that type of temperature even. And I'm like,
So
who
some
would do
animal
this?
just grabbed a beer not knowing what it was and just...
So come to find out, it was the studio manager took all the bottles home and thought her boyfriend drank it, who he didn't. And I got all 4 bottles without any issues. So I was okay. But I like for the minute, she was up front and said, oops. And it's not like, I don't know where it went. It was just,
Is that the one with the punchable face?
I don't know.
Okay.
Angela, what's going on?
What's going on?
What are you drinking over there? You got 4 glasses.
I'm on a New Glarus kick right now. So we've got some Crambic.
It's fantastic.
And then I've got all the juice from Matt. I have some, I'm assuming, fresh Boss Tweed. And then I also brought some
It's not that fresh. It just
beautiful
came 3 hours
cellared
ago.
beer when I was cleaning out my basement. So I have a Boss Tweed Vert.
Oh, sweet.
Tweed bird.
4 cans from the past year, including the first time it was canned, so we can compare.
That's awesome. God, that's awesome, man. That's
This
great, man.
is what happens when you don't drink that much, but you have a lot of beer.
Good. Oh, that's great.
So for the record, you guys don't have a Boss Tweed or an M43 Vert sitting somewhere?
I mean, we recommend that people don't cellar them. So,
I
You don't have like a can from each release just sitting somewhere?
I actually do have a rolling. I mean, obviously, we keep a rolling inventory of our beer for quality control. But generally, that only lasts for about 3 months, and then we'll move forward. Cause it's off the shelf in 3 months. So
Off the shelf and in my basement.
yeah, right. But I will keep a random can and keep it warm and force test. And so I've got one on my desk right now from late February, for
So
example.
what's kind of crazy though is that all these beers nobody even thought to pick up psychedelic catgrass today.
What's that?
I tried it already.
The triple IPA out of Shorts that got bottled today.
Today
it's
PA.
A Today PA.
Well,
the hops already fell off.
I feel like nobody really mentioned the fact that Vivant did that last week with
Did they?
that IPA that I brought. I think it's called Ritual IPA.
I didn't know
it was
they
the
did it
same
last week.
concept that I believe they kegged, packaged, distributed in 24 hours or so. And I mean, we all tried it. I thought that was a great beer. I didn't get a lot of love for Catgrass today, so I don't know if it's just, the excitement's not there anymore because they've done it a few times or what, but I was kind of surprised.
So I just had that Cody juice thing. It literally looks and tastes just like pineapple juice or something like that.
So
Like,
maybe someone in a brewery somewhere put pineapple juice in this can and sent their kid to school with
threw a few hops in it and called it a beer. So we kind of jumped ahead as our guests in studio today. Old Nation out of Williamston. I keep wanting to say Williamsburg. I'm like, that's not it. Williamston, Michigan. And pretty much the not founders of the New England IPA style in Michigan, but the ones that do it right and do it the most. I think that's fair to say.
We do a lot of it.
How many New England IPAs have you made, different ones?
Not as many as some folks that don't do the volume we do. Honestly, I think like five.
I could go
maybe
through and
six,
count.
5 or
but,
6.
Yeah.
5 or 6?
Now, well, I guess 7 now.
Before all your variants too, like tart strawberry.
I don't count that.
Oh, okay. I mean, it has its own label, and
That was just M43 with some flavoring in it. We wrote a big blog about it.
Did you just have some Kool-Aid laying around and just put the powder in it?
Not Kool-Aid, but
No.
not far off.
So, I mean, but it goes into this, the answer beer as well, right? So the ways that you can introduce fruit or fruit flavorings into a beer kind of limit us in the context of a New England IPA, particularly one that we want to distribute. So the choice that we made was to use flavoring in that beer.
It worked.
Yeah, I mean, that's how we've always made it for a number of different reasons. But I mean, I'd love to talk about all that stuff with you, but I don't want to launch right into it.
Kind of what we're here for.
Okay. I mean, I just want to go like technical right away.
We are.
Do you want me to ask you the same questions I asked you the first or second time you
Maybe
came in
if you asked me
studio?
the same questions you asked me the first time, it would be kind of interesting.
I would have to study that. It would be, so how did you get into brewing? Tell us about Germany.
Yeah. So it's there's essentially there's like 2 different ways to get fruit, like real fruit flavor into beer. And both of them have to do with aging the beer on fresh fruit. Aging is not an option with a New England IPA. So you really have 2 options to you at that point, which is essentially doing what the answer is doing, which is using either fruit pulp or puree or nectar or juice.
Goodness.
And sort of mixing it with the beer itself, which is why you'll notice those beers have a relatively low alcohol content because they've been cut with juice. Which is fine, right?
Cherry
It
juice
tastes
even.
fantastic. But that isn't an option for us when we distribute because you're putting the reason why that looks like a bundle of dynamite,
Yeah.
right, is because you can't keep it warm because that's live yeast in there, and you're introducing sugar from the juice or puree, so it will tend to want to ferment as yeast does.
We know folks that have put these in their basement and forgotten about them, and then beer hit the ceiling.
Happens a lot.
Yeah.
It's nothing wrong with that beer. I mean, they're telling you by the label on the can. If you read the can,
I guess I didn't really get to put all those things together.
Yeah, but that's kind of the deal with those beers. So it's great if you're selling them in crowlers out of your pub, and control them until the customer gets them. But we know through kind of hard experience that we can't always count on our retailers to keep this beer cold, and so it wasn't really an option for us. The other option is, as I said in the blog, a little bit more brutish, and that's essentially choosing your best extract and putting that in. And, like I say, we released this long blog post that talked about all this before we released the Strawberry M43. And, it's an interesting beer, dude, and a lot of people liked it. I'm happy that they liked it, but it's not really our thing centrally,
Now, I'm sure the answer is yes. Did you get hate because of this concept of putting out the blog post beforehand? Did you get people saying?
I mean, we did get a lot of people saying, well, I don't like it because it tastes like extract, We were kind of like, well, yeah, it would.
We put extract.
But I mean, also what we were saying was, look.
Did you say it was true to taste?
What's that?
The extract?
Yeah, I mean, I said it was. Yeah, I mean, I said it's the best strawberry extract for this application we could find, and we went through several. But I also said, there are a lot of beers that people drink all the time that they may not know contain extracts or even artificial flavorings, and so, I don't know. Flavoring beers with fruit is great. I spent a lot of time as a young guy in the Belgian tradition, but. That's not essentially the direction that we really want to go in. So we went small in terms of the amount that we put out there. The response was huge, and we got probably more hate for not making enough of it than we did for what's in it or what it tastes like.
So the trolls came out again.
Yeah, but they do every time now, I mean, you can't.
Welcome to the beer world.
Yeah, it doesn't really. No,
before,
it's fine.
Did you expect people to not want that, though? I mean, it's something completely new.
I didn't expect people to not want it, but I didn't want it to become a hallmark of Old Nation Brewing Company, right? I didn't do it to piss people off, honestly, but I just didn't, we didn't want to do a lot of it.
Now, is that, you guys had a handle of that, or a keg of that at the Fall Beer Fest, right?
Yeah.
Didn't that go in like 7 seconds?
I mean, it's as long as it was an open handle.
Yeah.
So it was a timed tapping.
Right.
It wasn't an official time tapping. When we got there, we told some of the folks as they were coming up, when are you going to do it? And we said, I forget what time it was. 3:30
7, because I was pouring somewhere else at that point, and I was unable to get any.
Sorry, man.
Yeah.
Thank you. But so then people went crazy for it.
I mean, there's stuff that we don't like doing. We're a private company. We reserve the right to not like to do it, and to do it, to say thanks to a few folks and not continue to is maybe one of the other rights we'll reserve. We'll see.
So what's the next variant or next version or next play?
I have it here. Nothing on M43 is planned right now. But we have Greenstone, which will be replacing the Cart Horse, which used to be the Boxer, next week in the open market. We're not doing a pub release of this or the other shoulder brand that'll be replacing the Boss Tweed, which is called Full Earth. Both of them use Michigan hops. So we've been fiddling around with using Michigan hops in this style since early last year with the Greenstone in its first iteration. And we like them. We like to use those hops. It's kind of counterintuitive. We're also using some, in the Full Earth at least, Cryo, Laurel, and some other kind of counterintuitive hops for the style, but they really work.
Nice.
Yeah.
So, I mean, are you going to just sit on it all night, Mark, or did you, did you want to share?
You want to drink this? Is that what you're saying?
I mean, I wouldn't. Okay. I wouldn't be mad if you said, here's a glass.
I will handle this. I'm not going to pass the greller. We'll just go cut that.
Yeah.
All right.
So, yeah, I mean, I'm excited about this, but I also brought some Vienna Lager, which you guys will be the first folks to taste. Also, this Greenstone, you're the first to taste this year. Outside of the 2 or 3 brewers.
So you kind of glossed it over real quick, and I want to kind of get to it. What happened with Boxer?
Oh, we got a cease and desist from a company that is owned by a holding company in Bermuda. And apparently they sell a lager or sold a lager in the Canadian market called Boxer. They had like a Boxer Light and a Boxer menthol. And
Yes, those big 36 packs.
Could be.
Yep.
Yeah.
Why are you looking at me like
I didn't
that?
know. I didn't know. So, when we did our U.S. Search, it came up nothing, and apparently we should have gone into Canada. So they said stop. We said cool. Now it's Cart Horse. We named it after the horse in Animal Farm.
Not the fact that you put the cart before the horse and naming it.
That was fun. Too.
Yeah, well, I mean, we said that a lot. But the Boxer we named after the horse in Animal Farm, and so Cart Horse was an easy conceptual leap from there.
Okay.
I'm actually looking at this.
Is it not the 36 pack?
I don't think so, but I'm looking at there's some type. I'm assuming the holding company in Bermuda owns the Minhas Microbrewing in Calgary.
I guess
that's
that's the one.
Yeah.
because I'm looking at it and they have like a full line of Boxer, like Boxer Light, Boxer gluten free.
All gluten free.
Like a full line of Boxer beer.
Yeah.
Boxer hard root beer.
Yeah, they have those. They come in 36
Going
packs
after
for
it.
like $10 at a party store.
I think you're
Canada?
making
No, here.
things- I feel like you're thinking of like game day beer from
No, I assure you, I've seen stacks of that beer.
Well, anyway, they told us to stop, and we did.
So like confusion.
It was that civil? You were just like white flag, whatever.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, these guys were clearly litigious and ready to fight, and I'm not. So we changed the name.
So I found your 36 pack for $10.99.
There you go.
On a website.
God, that must taste like gasoline.
Giving them the credit, beardsandbooze.com.
Okay, well,
So it's
we sue them
from
because-
7 years ago. It says worst beers ever, number 10, Boxer Lager.
well, I guess you don't want that reputation.
not,
So
yeah.
you should kind of
Yeah.
welcome that.
We
season.
didn't stress out about it.
Yeah, we really didn't stress out too much because I mean honestly I think we maybe had released like 200 cases of Boxer into the market like last spring, so we didn't.
Were you
feel
also
Maybe-
at the end of your graphics roll for that one as well?
What do you mean?
You didn't have any more like can
Labels?
graphic
Oh,
can
yeah,
labels, so you're like, whatever.
Well,
we got order new anyway.
Well, pretty much, yeah, pretty
We
much.
got a half a roll left that
Yeah.
are collector's edition.
Right.
And
Yeah.
now people can check into 2 different beers on Untapped and get an extra
Bonus.
get closer to that
It's
IPA.
important to get
some
those
badges.
numbers.
Yeah.
Have you
Let's pick 'em
seen
up.
the ratings be different on Cart Horse versus Boxer?
No, I haven't looked between them. I out of production the Boxer, so
Okay.
it is a whole different deal. So we could look and find out. 'Cause
It'd be humorous to see
It would be humorous.
what
Yeah.
people thought of one versus the other.
Well, we have had people, it's the same thing every year, right? We've had people say, well, I mean, it's better than Boxer. I don't like it as much as Boxer, whatever. But, that makes sense. It's been a year or so since anybody's had it.
It's crazy.
Yeah. Well,
So
I mean,
you've
it's
done
all right.
Why is
quite a-
everything so sweet we're tasting today? I just had that Cranbic.
Yeah, that's super sweet.
I
Oh
feel
my
like that's a
God,
great. I feel like that's a really great beer,
that's-
though.
It was good, but it's just like
But I say it. I say this every time I drink a New Glarus beer. I don't think anybody has a better food program.
I know.
I don't
Can
either.
someone in Michigan maybe take on the challenge?
I would love to. Honestly, I would love to.
All right, we're gonna take a break from M43. We're gonna try something new.
Yeah, we're just gonna
Start
stop, guys.
blending
We just
fruits.
stop this.
This
rate.
will be like
can we record this conversation you
this
have
is
with
the
the
next
owner?
phenomenon that they're gonna take on a fruit program that's gonna blow everyone else out of the water.
In
Nobody in Michigan's
lieu-
doing it.
In lieu of M43, the owner's gonna like shit his pants.
So here, Martha Fuller.
Listen.
Hey, Lions, we're gonna stop playing football. We're gonna go do squash.
No. They're gonna go play in the disc league.
Yeah,
They're gonna play ultimate disc
ultimate
golf
disc.
or ultimate disc,
I
ultimate
mean,
frisbee.
Could you imagine?
Honestly, I love lambic beers and blended sours. I think are. I mean, in terms of art, that's. I don't think there's more art anywhere in brewing than
Why
in
do you think more people in
blending.
Michigan aren't doing it though? Doing that specific like fruit forward.
It's expensive to do and time consuming. So, I mean, it's taking up a lot of your real estate as you're carrying all the cost of the fruit and, the beer. And if you're doing it in barrels, then barrels as well. They have to be rotated appropriately. So there's labor involved. To be completely frank, I don't know how New Glarus is doing it and selling them for so cheap, unless I haven't seen their facility, unless they have a huge facility that just is
It's like
for
a
this.
castle. I mean, I don't know about the brewing specifically, but I mean, the whole grounds feels like a castle.
I just think New Glarus is fantastic, and I haven't disliked anything that I've had from New Glarus, and I could talk about how great I think they am without really knowing anything about them forever. The strawberry rhubarb beer I had even was fantastic.
My God, I fiend for it. It's like top
It's so
5
good.
beers I've ever had in my life.
It's that
all
good.
I think about when I want a good fruit beer. I never even used to like fruit beers.
Right. But they're nailing acidity, which is crucial in fruit beers, right? If you don't have an acidity that mimics the acidity of that fruit, that's problematic, right?
Plus, you need to balance out the sweetness of the fruit, anyways. So
Well, yeah.
you can't have just that sweet on sweet on sweet.
Right. Well, and you have to you want to prevent fermentation of the fruit also, you know what I mean? Because you do need some of that sweetness in the backbone. And so all that stuff is difficult. I mean, you have to then pasteurize, at least flash pasteurize, so pasteurize before it gets into whatever container it's destined to be in. In addition to blending in any sour program is super important, and it takes time to develop your palate to the extent that you can blend. So even people who are experts don't exactly remember what the last thing they tasted was necessarily. And they've got maybe, in the case of, a lot of Belgian beers, 7 or 8 completely different beers that they have to somehow blend in order to make the beer consistent for the customer.
Aren't there certain chemical measurements that you can markers that you can use to do that, or is it still palate based?
They're inelegant right now. It's difficult to say from any chemical. You can certainly say that this pH, it has this acidity, right? So it's this tart or sour. But it's difficult to say by any sort of chemical testing means that, for example, this has the right amount of Brett flavor, right, in it. It either does or it doesn't, and that's up to the palate of the brewer, the blender. So Belgian beer, in I think its purest form, is not about brewing. It's really about blending. There, I'd get off my soapbox about that. I think it's fantastic.
You've been on quite the press junket of late.
Yeah.
So what, you were saying that the last 72 hours have been kind of all over the place. So
Yeah. Well, the brewery's still going nuts, and we're putting on this lager festival next Saturday, which is why we've been talking to so many
Holy shit,
people.
that's coming up so fast.
Yeah.
I didn't even put 2 and 2 together.
Yeah, man.
I was thinking later in summer.
No, so
June
it's,
2nd, you can buy tickets at oldnationbrewing.com or at the Williamston International Festival of Lagers website, which is WIFOL.BEER.
WIFOL.
Yeah. Yes.
It's got a
Whose
neat little
concept
acronym
is
you
this?
can.
I think Mark and I were talking about. I think it was a joke at first, right?
We were driving to Grand Rapids.
Yeah, I think maybe we were talking about how popular M43 was, and I was like, if this gets really popular, I'm going to do a fucking lager festival and see how many people don't show up to that. And, so we did. I mean, we invited a bunch of people we really respect from Michigan and from all over the U.S. and
is that why my invite got lost in the mail?
other countries. I mean, not people, brewers. You can come. You just got to pay $35.
Okay.
Hey, he's brewed once.
Wait, do we get a souvenir glass? Because I definitely need more of
Actually,
those.
I'll buy you a ticket for that sausage.
Oh, hey,
swear
there
to
we
God.
go.
Thank you.
And I will tell you one
Not
thing.
my person.
Now we're even. No. The sausage you made.
I did set this up earlier today too. This podcast has a special promo code, so for those that will listen or are watching on Twitch, you can get $5 off your ticket if you use the promo code. And I'm not kidding. Shut up, Matt Bush.
Really? That's awesome.
Yeah. So if you
Wait, that's
just
BUSH.
that's right.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Right.
Yeah, not like
the president.
Not
Right.
the
Right.
president, not
Not
the
the beer.
Right.
Yeah.
So shut up, Matt
Which
Bush
is a
promo
lager.
code. And we've
This
come full
is
circle.
amazing.
Yeah.
Did you actually use it?
No, I just
Okay.
clicked.
Do you have pizza as your background?
Yeah, pizza and puppies, okay?
You got a problem with that, Matt?
No, not
You're
at
gonna
all.
take it up with her, and I don't
Not
think
at
you
all.
want to.
Well, we're a struggling podcast. We hardly get anybody to reach us. So you probably won't get anybody to tell me to shut up. Which
That's fine.
it's a first. It really is.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
If we sell one, then we feel like we've won.
I
that-
feel like
game.
that. I would
Yeah.
feel like that. But I mean, it's turning out to be actually the response is pretty good, and we have a lot of lager that I'm really excited about. And
We've got lager coming from around the world. We've got the one that we just solidified today is Heater Allen out of Portland, who does 1,200 barrels a year. They will never distribute in Michigan. It's a 3-man deal, and the owner's the delivery driver. And they are.
Is he drive Hayden here?
He is not. We had to arrange for someone else to do that for him.
FedEx guy?
But essentially,
Does beer have a FedEx? That
you can FedEx beer.
you can
I learned
FedEx
that in helping
Really?
put this thing together. Yeah, that you
you
can
have to
actually.
just register it with the proper authorities then?
Yeah, there's
Yep.
there's
to have a TTB
bunch of
cola.
paperwork. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Not like you get what's that Shipping Wars? You could have called the guys from Shipping Wars where
Have
they
them bid
bid
on it?
down. Yeah. And then when they show up, it's just like a case of beer, and they're like,
yeah,
"Really?
Yeah, a brewery definitely needs another reality show.
Oh Lord.
Yeah.
Wow." That sounded a little.
The one that I watched was you couldn't beat it. It was the best one out there.
I know of two, and
That's
that's
the one.
Yeah.
What was the other one?
Dark Horse had one.
Yeah.
Dogfish had one.
Oh, I didn't see that
Oh
one.
yeah, that's right. Yeah,
Golden
yeah,
Road's
that's
got
right.
one.
I don't even know what you guys
Golden
are talking
Road's got
about.
A
one.
reality show.
They have the reality show for the brewery.
You
It was
saw
Dark Horse Nation.
Dark Horse
I don't
Nation.
think I ever saw that.
Who
I didn't even know
put
that.
it on?
It was like
History Channel, maybe?
Yeah, something like
This
that.
was a few years ago.
Brew Studs, I think, or Brew Dogs or
Brew Dogs.
whatever
That's all.
has
That's the
a.
only show I've seen.
Brew Dogs.
Yeah, Brew Dogs has their own show too. Because I remember
You were right.
they did an ice bock where they did the fermentation like underwater or something like that. It was really weird.
Everything they did was really weird.
Yeah, it was. They made a
That's
beer on like a party bus or in a carnival. I don't know. They had some gimmick every single time. It went from funny to all right. You're trying a little too hard to
And they
to
kept
make
getting
a
naked
beer.
for some reason.
on Dark Horse Nation or
No,
on
not
Brew
that.
Studs?
the Swedish
The
brewery?
Brew Dogs.
Brew Dog. Okay.
They're Scottish, right?
Trust Scott.
Yeah.
Maybe
I mean,
Something like
it wasn't.
that.
It wasn't going to
that's it.
surprise me if you
They're
said
from
Dark
one
Horse
of the
Nation.
islands. There's two of them,
I thought
maybe.
they were Scandinavian. I don't know. I thought.
No, they were.
So back to the lagers because
Yeah,
this is
Yeah, let's do this.
this is racking my
this
brain
lager
right
thing.
now. It's my least favorite style.
Of course.
What?
I just don't have a good history with lagers. They remind me of like skunky college beer times. So if somebody were to buy a ticket and go to a lager fest, what should they expect?
Using the promo code Shut Up Matt Bush.
Yeah.
Shut up, Matt
If
Bush.
they use that promo code.
Can we also
BUSH.
can we get a hashtag trending too for our one or two listeners out there? Hashtag shut up, Matt.
I really want to know how well this promo code works.
Right.
Oh, that's why. That's why.
Yeah. We can know that. We can know.
Yeah, their computers tell me.
Yeah,
things.
that's right. So what
can't
to
wait to
expect
find out
at
this
the Lager
information.
Festival? There are obviously a number of different lagers made by a number of different breweries, but the breadth of flavors would be more limited than they would be in a normal festival, which included ales, right? For a number of different reasons.
So should it be like? Should I expect like if I were to walk into like Wolverine and there's just like this crazy different variety of lagers that you would never expect, like barrel aged dark lagers?
There will be some of that, but a lot of, so I reached out, a lot of these people I don't know, but a lot of these people I reached out to who have been friends of mine from all over the world for 16 years, right? And all those folks brew lager because we all met in Germany. And so those people at least are kind of viewing this as a brewer to brewer sort of competition almost. And lagers tend to be they're brewers' beers, right?
Right. I totally respect the fact that they're a very complicated style to master. And,
Right. Well,
and you're not really a good brewer until you have a good lager.
But it's not just the brewing of them. I think that training your palate to really taste lagers is crucial too, right? Because it's subtle differences that you're picking up on, right? And it's down to the water in a way that's a lot more expressive than it is, for example, in a really strong ale or a really highly hopped ale or a really high sugar content, high alcohol ale. So I think that it's an opportunity for folks to come out. I think about it like the difference between jazz and maybe classical and rock and roll, right? Rock and roll is great. I love rock and roll. I've played guitar since I was a little kid. I mostly play some version of folk or rock and roll or bluegrass or whatever, right? But I also love classical music, and I played classical music when I was a kid too, but they're completely different things, right? The purpose is different. The execution is different. The technique is completely different. The feel is different. And that's what I really like about the difference between, ales that are popular now and lagers that are not. And I don't care if lagers are the next big thing or not. I just hope that folks come out and, kind of just get a vibe for what they are. It's a nice day in a nice town with good music and good food, beer.
Who's supplying the food? You guys?
Food trucks.
Yeah. Lockhart's will be doing some catering, some non-food trucky catering, as well as Picnic it's Picnic: the food truck. And the other one's escaping me.
Is there going to be a German food truck then? Like, can I get a big piece of schnitzel?
I don't think so.
No, there's not a German
How
food
do we
truck.
skip that one?
There's barbecue.
Yeah, there will be barbecue.
But lagers and schnitzel are like mashed potatoes and gravy.
Lagers and schnitzel go together like lagers and schnitzel.
Like, they're their own thing. It's like no mashed potatoes and gravy.
Yeah. No.
Wow, so that's interesting.
to
I
just-
would maybe expect like some people prepping for their Cicerone tests out there, trying all the different lagers, trying to pick up the different
I
flavors.
think that would be great.
Yeah.
I mean, I really, really do. The way, I don't know, the way lagers come across, I get it. I think particularly if you're used to being punched in the face by a boatload of hops, like are in some of the beers that we make, or bourbon barrel and a million different Mexican spice cake spices. That going from one Pilsner to a Helles would be like, these taste the same and they're boring and I don't like it, right? But I think if you were to really spend time with those beers and figure out, where the acidity is and where the mouthfeel is and how the hops come across and how they support and balance with the sweetness, which is all limited in those beers, I think it's fascinating.
I think it's, to Angela's point, I think it's boring because it's just, there's no adjuncts to it. There's nothing crazy about it.
To
Like,
be fair, I
not
wasn't. I
bourbon
don't
barrel
like them.
aged lagers, or like Travis was saying, you're not putting a lot of flavors into it. It's just a standard crisp, clear beer.
Well, I mean, if Wolverine's coming, they've got a giant lager list, like Massacre.
They're bringing
that-
6.
Yep.
So, I think when you think boring, I think you think it might be boring because you don't know what to look for in a lager.
Sure.
And when I say you, I mean me too. This is going to be a big learning experience for me too. But I think with a little bit of practice, and you can practice at a lager festival using the promo code Shut Up Matt Bush. And what you'll be able to do is taste the differences. I mean, this lager, we just poured the Old Nation Vienna lager, and it doesn't.
I think it's amazing.
It is
doesn't-
pretty good.
It's robust. It's got a maltier, nuttier character than you would expect in a
I'm
lighter-
used
lighter
to
lager.
lagers. I'm never bored. If I'm bored, I'm sleeping. I like to sleep. I am not bored by beer. I've just had a bad taste of pungy college beer, and that is what I associate with a lager.
Well, this is like postdoctoral beer.
And this beer isn't pungy. It's not my favorite, but I mean it's going down like water. So I would say, I guess on
So you're
June
ready to play
2nd,
some beer pong
when
with
it's
it?
90 degrees. I'll be
Kobe.
shooting.
God willing.
I'll be shooting Kobe's all day.
So I just had that Greenstone.
He's a big
Tell us
fan.
why you don't like it, Ken.
Oh God,
hit
it's
us.
so bitter. It's so bad.
Doesn't
You're the one
it
that
just make you cringe when he talks about IPA?
Any of my beer. Anytime Ken talks about my beer, I'm like, oh, what the fuck?
But you should be like, the more he doesn't like it, the better you should feel about
Oh
it.
no! Listen, sales are inversely proportional to Ken's opinion. So
IPAs? Oh yeah. Oh yeah. If I like an IPA, you done messed up.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Wait, what about sales in proportion to my hype, though? I mean, my dog has been like a big asset
are
in
right in
marketing
line,
for
yeah.
you guys.
That's absolutely right.
your
You're
white
right about
floofy
that.
dog
Yeah,
can
that's
is a
You're
great
right.
spokesperson.
It's really the dog's only like 4 pounds, but it's just all hair. That's
hell.
all
and
it
a
is.
super close
If
up
only
picture.
he weighed 4 pounds.
But now I
Yeah,
do
that-
need to sell beer to send my children to college, Ken. So I guess what I'm
What I'm
wondering
trying to say is if you like bitter beer, this is perfect for you. Like if
does
you
it
like,
seem bitter to you?
it is. Did you not see my face?
So
I wasn't asking you.
Yeah,
You already said you
I've
didn't
been-
like it and it was bitter.
I've been sipping on the lager. I'm really trying to taste the mouth. I'm trying to get the acidity, the mouthfeel.
because it's not
I'll
bitter.
switch
And
gears.
Ken knows that that's kind of the death knell for beer like this. So I feel like that's an aggressive
the
statement. on Ken's
Greenstone?
part. Yeah.
Bitter is not a word I've ever used to describe a hazy IPA, personally.
I don't know. I don't think it's bitter. I think it's drier.
It's dry. Yeah, it's really dry.
But I think that's what the kick is. Everybody's got a New England IPA, and it's all kind of in like this matrix of, is it drier, is it juicier, is it hoppier? All these different kind of flavor factors, and it's just kind of trying to find where you want to be on the balance.
right.
I think
I don't want to
maybe-
be on like either side of this seas. I just don't.
No IPAs. Only
Well,
brown.
but that's the thing though, is that as much as I give you shit for it, one, you're not going to take offense to it because
No, I
you know
don't take
damn well that I don't like IPAs.
I do know that. But I still wish you wouldn't say it on the air.
Oh, because somebody
I'm kidding.
really takes my opinion.
I'm
That's
kidding,
the
I'm
whole
kidding.
point of the show. It's not like I reach up
He
on
can
my.
say it on air. He just can't check in a beer. I just don't agree with you checking in IPA.
He checked in the Tart Strawberry M43 with a half star.
Oh, I did that
no.
on purpose.
Rude.
on the table.
Wow, dude.
If
Wow.
So first of all, that's funny.
So
Second
now
of
your
all,
average is going to be 4.9 just because Ken's the one
Somebody
asshole.
told me that today.
So
like,
we-
oh, you're going on the podcast?
so we did that. I literally said I'm doing that on air. Then I'm checking it in with a half star just to see what people will come back with, and it was a little bit of fun. It was
Did
definitely.
Did anybody-
people
were they
comment?
responsive?
Oh, yeah.
I've never been on Untapped, so I don't know if
It's-
like is this
it's
like
not as bad as-
Facebook people chat with
yeah,
each other.
Yeah, it's kind of like Facebook. More like, I checked it in. Like I think I gave Zombie Dust a half
Who's
star.
commenting though? Are they
So
they
we
scrolling
have-
through reviews to see what other
Well,
strangers or are these people
we
that
have
you're
20,000 people that are friends on our Untapped page. So 20,000 people respond or not
Do you see
respond.
their
but-
news feed? This
So
guy
they'll
checks
see it, yeah.
There's a news feed?
Yeah.
Is there?
Yeah, recent feed activity.
If by
Casey
news you mean
Quizzle
other people's-
is drinking
Yes.
the
drinking
Drop
habits.
by Temperance Beer Company at the Theater on the Lake just seconds ago.
What did she rate
Here's Robert Allen, guest of Better on Draft, fan of the show, is drinking Psychedelic Catgrass by Shorts at Hopcat Royal Oak
What did he
seconds
give
ago.
it?
We could go to Hopcat right now and go say hi to Robert Allen. He gave it
should.
4 1/4. Said grassy mango hop notes with plenty of bitter, lighter mouthfeel, hint of grainy doughiness.
Sounds like something you would
With
love, Ken.
then a dry finish, also quite fresh.
That sounds awesome. That sounds really good.
So yeah, that's kind of what Untapped
Well,
does.
now
So
I know why I'm not on Untapped.
when I check
Can't
in
provide
a
that kind
half
of
star
verbiage.
for strawberry
You don't need it.
M43.
Well, Angela, you also get a lot of 2 stars. I hate IPAs. Meh.
Yeah, I love those. Are my favorite. Those are my absolute favorite. I don't like lagers. 1 star. What?
That's
Then what
that's.
did you do?
I don't know if I ever told you. So when I went and brewed a beer over at North Center Brewing over in Northville, Michigan,
Great
just
brewery.
south of Baseline,
Fantastic.
we brewed an alt there, and it was great. And this guy gave my beer like 1.5 stars.
And now you know how it feels.
And I'm like, what is your problem? And I go look and I just see Hophead,
Yeah,
5 star, 5
yeah,
star,
yeah,
5 star
yeah,
IPA.
yeah.
I'm like, well, you're not going to like a malt bomb like this.
Karma,
I
karma
don't
is
drink
real,
any.
folks.
Right.
I didn't take offense to it. I just laughed. I'm like,
I mean, I
Did you
feel
though? 'Cause
like
I've
you're
heard the
still
story
talking
like
about
3
it.
times.
oh yeah. It's funny.
This should be a sponsored segment.
Maybe it's just an easy way to get North Center Brewing over in Northville, Michigan, just south of Baseline.
Should this be like
Apply.
Brewers
fantastic
read, I
brewery.
want to have like Kimmel has celebrities read mean tweets. Brewers meet.
Ooh,
Brewers
I've always
read
wanted to do
bad on
this.
flat reviews.
Matt, shut up. Matt.
When
That's a great idea.
When brewers get together, often the conversation turns to, wouldn't it be cool if there was a site where we could rate people that rated our beer? That would be fantastic.
This sounds like it's gonna turn into like an episode of.
It's called the People's
that
Republic
Black
of China.
Swans show or whatever.
I mean, it would be horrible. Of course, we would never do that, and we appreciate.
Well, you would never do
everyone
it publicly.
No, we would never do it publicly, but we do share your quotes, guys.
That's like me coming back on your bad service when I said you're bitching about having bad service, and I'm bitching about all the asshole customers I've ever had to wait on.
Yeah, exactly.
What are you talking about? All customers are great at restaurants.
And always right.
always,
Customers are always right.
Always right.
always, the customer is king. Customer is king.
Yeah.
So we are going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. Better on Draft Podcast.
Hey guys, it's Matt from the Better on Draft podcast. If you're like me, anytime you go out, whether it's to a bar or out with friends, you're always going to grab the newest, hottest craft beer. You're always going to ask the waitstaff what's new, and when you go to your friend's house, you're going to ask and grab the newest thing that you've never had in the back of their fridge. The worst part about craft beer is when you find a beer that you love that's new, you never know where to find it. Well, I'll tell you what, stop looking at Kroger, stop looking at Meijer. Go to Zatuna Liquor in Rochester Hills, just south of 59 on Rochester Road. If it's out there, if it's in cans, if it's in bottles, Jack has it. Stop in, say hi to Jack or Gus. Get that beer that you've been traveling all over the city for in one stop. While you're there, top of the line liquor, great cigars, everything you need to make you happy is at Zatuna Liquor, just south of M59 in Rochester Hills on Rochester Road.
Why do we love it so much? Is it their beer club membership that gets you discounts on food, beer, and even beer to go, or even information on their new and experimental releases? Or is it their new full menu program that pairs well with the brown ale? Why not head over there for yourself, test your knowledge Wednesday nights with some pub trivia, and tell them we sent you. You can find them on North Center Road, just south of 8 Mile in Northville, Michigan. They're open Tuesday to Sunday, but you can also find them on Facebook under the name North Center Brewing Company. Cheers.
And that's why the dog still won't work.
And we are live, episode 132 of the Better on Draft podcast. I just need to never unmute your mic.
Shut up, Matt Bush.
Yes,
Hashtag.
shut up, Matt Bush.
Yep.
$5 off over at WIFOL.BEER for the Lager Festival next weekend. So the weekend after Memorial Weekend, which is this weekend.
That's right. VIP gets you in an hour early and 5 more taster tickets.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Bands start at noon. Festival starts at 1 for non-VIPs.
Do you want to talk about the bands?
I would love to talk about the bands.
Travis,
at
please
this
talk
festival.
about the bands.
What bands do you have?
Well, listen, Ken, I'm glad you asked. It is
Leonard Skinner?
no.
Just once a Freebird, and then his set's over?
6 hours of it.
Yeah, well, I mean, one Freebird is a set.
Play Piano Man.
Well, then like he gets off, Iron Butterfly comes on, plays Inagata Davida.
Yeah.
And then
Festival's over.
Then
November Rain.
November. Oh my God. So who is actually playing at this are 3 bands that are based in Lansing. I used to work at a guitar shop when I was in college in Lansing called Elderly Instruments, which is one of the best guitar shops in the United States. Incongruously, right? It's just in Lansing. for whatever
Elderly?
reason. Elderly Instruments.
So, like, old instruments?
They specialize in old instruments. So for example, the coolest, probably like the pop culture-y coolest guitar I ever sold when I was there was the second Gibson Flying V. You know what I'm talking about?
Sure.
This ever made. And it was like, I think $75,000. So that's the kind of stuff they do, you know?
Okay.
Lloyd Loar mandolins, you know, these $200,000 mandolins they carry on consignment. I mean, it's an intense instrument shop, right? So it attracts a bunch of really good musicians to Lansing. Again, for whatever reason, right? It's not something you would expect. And what we have at this festival are a lot of those guys. So Solstice is the name of the first band. They're kind of a straight-up funk R&B band. Great vocals. I don't think they'll be bringing their horn section, but just fantastic musicianship all the way through. Global Village will be playing in the second slot. They do have a sweet horn section, great band, super upbeat, a lot of straight funk. And then Frog and the Beeftones, one of my favorite guitar players on the planet, Frog, Steve Forgy, will be closing the set. Plays left-handed upside down like Hendrix, man. The guy's amazing.
Like Cobain.
Yeah, but he's good. At playing guitar.
hot take.
Kurt Cobain was a fine songwriter.
I just said hot take. I didn't say anything else. I just said the words hot and take next to each other. I'm surprised you didn't get like the Loggerheads to come up. I mean, the names in the name.
Yeah, I didn't think about that kind of stuff. I just wanted to kind of book good bands that I liked.
Hot take
Hot
again.
take. Yeah.
Damn.
No, I mean I don't know those guys. That's what I'm saying. I don't know those guys.
It's one of my friend's bands.
Yeah, I didn't mean anything bad about
it's
the
like the
Loggerheads.
9th incarnation of a band. He's an amazing player, but like it's kind of hard to figure out where he is these days. He just hops from band to band.
Yeah, I want to reiterate. I didn't mean anything against those guys. I just guys that I knew was the
Oh,
point.
I'm gonna clip just what you said and then send it to him, and he's gonna be like, "Okay."
Sounds about right.
I don't know that dude. Who cares what he thinks?
No, he's just gonna be like, "Okay, whatever." Like he's probably the most chill person I've ever met. So
Fantastic.
he's just gonna be like, "Yeah, okay, whatever." So you guys have bands coming. You got food trucks. You got so many beers. You actually poured us another beer.
We did, yeah. The Eyinger. These guys are actually not going to be at a lager festival. It's just a favorite of mine. From Bavaria. When I was a teenager, I lived
that's
in Bavaria.
crisp.
Isn't that wonderful? I lived in Bavaria, and my host father took me to Eyinger Brewery before I really cared about beer at all. And it really, truly is one of the best. Well, it's in Germany, but German-style breweries imported to the U.S., I think. Their Oktoberfest is amazing. Their Weizen Hefeweizen is really, really good. This is great. They also make a Pilsner, which is fantastic. I mean, everything these guys make is gold, in my opinion. They're just great.
So we're drinking it's a Bavarian Pils. So
Yeah.
What is the difference between this and just a straight up?
So the difference between right. So please, somebody pump the brakes on me if I get too geeky about this, because I could talk all day about this. But Pilsner started in the Czech Republic, right? At the time when Pilsner started, folks in the Czech Republic spoke German, right? It was part of the Habsburg regime, all that. At that time, the water in Pilsen, the city in the Czech Republic, Pilsen is a German word for mushroom. They grew a lot of mushrooms there.
Yeah.
Was super, right? Was super, super, super soft, right? And so it was this confluence of these new technological advancements that essentially made Pilsner possible. So the kilns that they were roasting, or rather kilning malt in, were not incorporating smoke in the heat for the first time in a long time, right? Well, ever, really. So that you would have something burning underneath the malt in order to kiln it, and that thing that was burning would produce smoke, and then the malt would taste like that smoke. But in this case, that wasn't happening, right? That had happened a little bit before, but the temperature wasn't able to be controlled to the extent that it is in Pilsner malt, which creates this yellow colored beer, right? This golden, delicious colored beer that we're used to now. Similarly, they had isolated, Louis Pasteur had isolated yeast, ale yeast and lager yeast, specifically lager yeast in this context. And that allowed them then to make consistent lager beer, right? They were aging it in these caves at 52 degrees. That's why most folks still lagers at 52 degrees. And they were giving it enough time, and they knew how to make good beer at this time, but they hadn't isolated particular yeast strains, so it would often come out sour. They'd have to blend back sour beer into non-sour beer, and it was consistent, but it wasn't as kind of clean as it is now. So those two things happened, right? They isolated lager strains of yeast. They were able to make a really light-colored malt that had this kind of almost field flavor, right? And then additionally, glassware was kind of ubiquitous at this time too. So a clear beer, which lagers are if they're done properly, right? Because they have a ton of time for the yeast to drop out of solution. That made a difference because people were drinking out of glasses, right? It wasn't something just for rich people anymore. Anybody could get a glass. So all that stuff happened at the same time. And that was Pilsner beer. And the way that styles have developed over time is almost exactly the way that Pilsner turned into Helles and export and all that other stuff, which is that, I mean, there was a lot of cloak and dagger shit around this back in the day, and you can read about it in
And
some
they
of the
actually
old
wore
books.
cloaks and used daggers.
Right, for real,
That's
probably.
where that came from.
Right.
Yeah.
So, you know.
It's actually on the next episode of
Right.
Game of Thrones.
Right,
They brew a
right, the
Pilsner.
Pilsner, right, the Pilsner beer, right. It's pretty much the center of the next season. But
Winter is coming means the winter lager is coming.
right, right. That's right. So it would be these, they would send these kind of like spies into these places to work and steal the yeast and try and steal the recipe and all that kind of stuff, and take it to wherever they were from, right? So in this case, the difference between a Helles, which is a traditional Bavarian style, and a Pilsner is ultimately the water, right? Because these guys took a Pilsner yeast from Pilsen in the Czech Republic. They were using ostensibly the same, similar, really similar, if not the same, and probably more or less the same hops as well, but the water was different. Because these beers are so dependent on each particular ingredient, because there are only a few and none of them are used in great amounts.
Because water is 90% beer.
Right.
That showed up on my timeline like a couple days ago.
Right. It became kind of a different beer, right? But not so different. So I would say that people who aren't used to drinking lager beer now will have a Helles and a Pilsner and go, well, I mean, I don't really see the difference. But from the perspective of a brewer, from the perspective of somebody who really likes lagers, there's a fair difference, right?
But that's like, and I'll kind of geek out with you here for a second, talking about a Pilsner versus a Bavarian Helles is kind of like playing the same song just in a different tone. It's not exactly like
for real.
It's essentially the same thing.
It's a
just
variation on a theme,
slightly different.
That opener again.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's like putting tart strawberry extract in your M43 and just going from there.
It's way cooler than that. But thanks, man. But so that and you can trace that all the way back to the Hanseatic Trading League in Central Europe, and the development of Scotch ale and Scottish ale.
This isn't better on Prussia. We got it.
I just said Scotland. It's interesting stuff. These beers developed out of necessity back then. They were just somebody trying to do a thing that they tasted, and maybe it worked and maybe it didn't exactly, but, if it was good, then folks would drink it.
But also, I think people don't realize that liquid was currency at some point.
Without question.
And it was also like a form of life, because some places where this beer was being drank didn't have access to clean water as well. So,
particularly, seafarers, sailors,
So these hops were a way to preserve water on long journeys.
Sure. Well, and the alcohol, pretty much gave it biological stability, right? So we know that no known human pathogens, for example, can live in beer, right?
That's why when I get sick, I just get drunk.
Right. It can taste sour. It can turn into vinegar. It can be unpalatable, but it won't make you sick. right?
Unless you drink 50 of them.
Well, right. You could poison yourself with alcohol.
Yeah.
Right. But beer won't make you sick. And most of the beer these folks were drinking wasn't really all that strong. It was maybe 3% or so. And it only has to be, I think it's 1.8, but it might be less than that.
That's where you drop the ball on this knowledge?
Percent ABV. I don't care, man. I don't make 1.8% beer.
Thank you for that.
But in order to be antipathogenic. So, yeah, I mean, it was crucial to the development of humanity. I think people go overboard sometimes when they talk about beer's importance in the history of the world, but there are some turning points at which beer was present. Mesopotamia is one of them, and so on. I mean, you can go. Like I said, you can go on for a long time.
We saw the
about this.
Dilly War where he just said they have Bud Light, and there was a big crusade against it. So
I mean, that may be the most crucial turning point in history is the Dilly War,
the War of Dilly
without
Dilly.
question. Yeah.
So Mark, I think last time you were here with us, it's about a year and change-ish.
Getting close to that.
Yeah, so they were on episode somewhere in the 90s and then somewhere in the 60s.
So I think you had a other job.
I did.
Do you still hold 2 jobs?
I do not.
Okay.
Yeah.
So welcome to full-time.
Thank you.
Old Nation.
Yep. It was, I think, like September, August, September. So not far after.
So what, I guess, from your initial days of marketing M43 and just Old Nation as a whole to now, what are the obstacles you see now in the market versus, what is your reception now as opposed to where it was?
Yeah. So today, the biggest issue we have right now, and especially today, is not enough beer.
Yeah.
It's just not enough beer.
It's never enough.
Yeah. The winter, like in every brewery, winter slows down, so we adjust accordingly. Weather got warm, and nobody had M43. Everybody's running out of M43, but in both draft and can.
Right. And we're making some, 4,500 case equivalents of this stuff a week, which is a lot for any single package. Yeah, it's nuts, man.
Now, with having such success, have you ever thought about co-packing M43?
Yeah.
I mean, that would allow you to play. I know that you like a lot of different styles to play with and to brew.
I do.
I mean, and you said about 75% of your capacity is just M43 to keep up with demand?
Right. More than that now.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, well, we're trying to keep it at 75%, right? But it's tough. Just given the overall, we spent a great deal of money expanding our capacity by 80%, and we were already a fairly large brewery when we opened. Almost comically large when we opened. And now we're, damn near twice as big, and it's still not anywhere near enough.
We were talking about it before we went live on the air. So in 2016, you guys actually made 1,238 barrels of beer.
Right. Not too bad for brewery in their, first year and a half.
Well, no. You're running in the top 25, I think, of the state just simply from that.
Right.
Then you go last year, and you made 7,600 barrels.
And we really only started making M43 for real in June of last year.
So you have that, and then this year you're saying you're almost already at that mark in May of this year, so you're almost going to double, which would put you literally in the top 5 of the state.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, with one brand functionally. With M43 only functionally, which is crazy. We don't want that. Not because we don't like M43, and not necessarily because I don't feel at this juncture that we're in a particularly precarious position. It feels like M43 has been pretty fairly accepted.
I think people like it.
Are you afraid? Do you have a fear that palates will change and you'll be stuck holding the...
Not really. No.
The New England IPA craze isn't it's not even brand new to Michigan as much as it's brand new because beer traders were getting transient and all these other East Coast New England IPAs prior to it. And now that it's readily available, I think it's going to trend off. And I think a lot of the other brewers who are making the beer have their own style, like maybe even Rochester Mills' Juice Bigelow.
Sure.
They'll probably start fading away, which will actually help you guys in regards to the fact that there'll be less competition in the style.
We didn't really feel any competition this whole time.
Wow.
I'm not
Hot
as
take.
No, you keep doing this. Not because those beers weren't good, and I've said this a million times, right? That I think it was kind of unfair. And when we first released to other breweries, I think when we first released M43, the feedback was, It's okay, but it's not Treehouse or Trillium.
Yeah, these
And
guys.
I said transient earlier.
yeah. I mean,
Get
I
the
think I
TR.
picked up on it. But of course it's not, right? We're not those guys, and we're not trying to clone their beer. And I think similarly, because M43 was the first New England IPA that a lot of folks in Michigan tasted, whenever they tasted someone else's, whether it was Rochester Mills or whomever, the response was, well, it's not M43. It's not as good as M43. And just because it's not M43 doesn't mean it's not as good. And I think it was unfair to those guys. Because I think there were a lot of good ones that came out.
Well, I mean, we did have a competition over at betterondraft.com on our Facebook page, which we had a lot of people talking. Obviously, the winner was Baffin, which they just have a giant fucking...
It's also good beer, and they're great dudes.
That's true, and that's the thing is that if you ask the people who tried the beers back to back,
right,
a lot of people, most people still said Boss Tweed was number one, but a lot of people are like, "Oh my gosh, this Wicked Smart," which was their
How did
single,
you pronounce that exactly?
Wicked Smart.
Got it.
You got to have the.
I wanted you to give me that A again. One more time.
Wicked Smart. So they had it's a little hot for Matt. So they had the beer. But that they're rabid fan base. But again, like your beers, like every single time you come out with a beer, it's a hit.
Yeah.
And I
Are
think
you just sick of success already?
God, it sucks so
Dude,
bad.
no, because I spent 15 years, whatever the opposite of that is. You know what I mean? Making Pilsner and alt beer.
Well, what's so you tried to be really true to style, really true to branding. You weren't really not necessarily not testing the waters because obviously Bumpy Cake is not a standard beer for sure.
Well, I was making beers with other folks too, but yeah. For my beers, I just wanted them to be. Did air conditioning just?
I think so. I think that's why she's looking.
Did you just do that, Matt?
Yeah.
Say that you did.
Yes, that's
awesome.
why I left.
Great.
Matt,
Thank
Find
you.
a way to
Speak
turn
up.
the air conditioning. I've been told to shut up so many times today. I don't know if that's true.
Remember, shut up, Matt Bush.
Oh my
Hashtag
God, it's
WIFOL.
wonderful in
It's
here now.
great.
Well,
now.
there's the fan I'm waiting for it still. I'm still sweating like a hooker in church.
I don't think you'll ever hear me complain about the cold because I just don't do well in this kind of weather.
I don't either, man. I don't either.
So if you ever got out from under this rock that is M43 and probably Boss
Don't
Tweed
ever
Eagle,
need to.
Crazy
but yeah.
burden. Yeah.
Like-
Yeah.
what is another style or another flavor profile you'd want to play with or brew or try to bring on?
Nate is my brewing partner and is a great brewer. We've been brewing together for almost 10 years, almost more than 10 years now, I guess, almost 11 years. And he, graduated from UC Davis. He's been a brewer for 15, 16 years professionally. And he and I see eye to eye on a lot of things and disagree on a lot of other things. And one of the things that we disagreed on was, French seasonal beers and some Belgian kind of farmhouse ales. He is a savant at those beers, and I'm really not at all. So I would love to let Nate make some of those in order just to learn myself, even if folks didn't like it. But the benefit right now for us is that we are selling a lot of beer, so there's a little bit of cash laying around. And so we bought a 10-barrel pilot system with a bunch of 10 and 20-barrel tanks, and we can do functionally whatever we want for the first time, right? If we can find the time, right? Nobody even has the time to brew on it quite often now, but
Well, if you
So-
stopped going on the news so much.
We do have a question from the chat room.
yeah.
Somebody wants to know if you're going to ever make a Rogan beer.
I have before, and I absolutely will again. Yeah. I love Rogan beer.
Under
is
the,
a
old,
Rogan beer?
under the Old Nation guys.
I think so, yeah. I mean, we tried to do that split and keep Detroit Brewing Company doing the traditional German beer, and it just didn't carry because I think folks weren't interested in trying it because it wasn't attached to something that they already liked.
So a Rogan beer, what is it?
Yeah.
So Rogan beer is traditionally a lot of Rogan means rye, right? It's the grain rye. So rye tends to be spicy, but also morphologically it's a lot like wheat. And so in terms of the way that you work within brewing, it's huskless and operates really similarly. So traditionally, Rogan beer is made a lot like wheat beer, and quite often with that same Hefeweizen yeast, that one that has characteristic kind of banana and clove aromas. And in my opinion, those banana and clove aromas go so well with the spiciness of rye that sometimes the beers can come across as a little astringent if done improperly, if there's too much rye used. But I mean, that's a super interesting style. I would love to make one, absolutely.
Well, that's kind of a direction we didn't think going. So
That's why we have a chat room.
yeah, I suppose. So how have you? I know we just talked about this. What are your thoughts on contract brewing? Is that
Right.
Do you think that if you moved that way, you could put out other beers and thus expand your portfolio and kind of get out from under?
Yes.
The rock?
Right? It's why it's very attractive to us right now. And something I'm really genuinely considering. Part of that is because for a long time I was making the Detroit Brewing Company. I didn't know what that even said. Your face was great.
Angela's Pornhub just popped up.
If my voice is on Pornhub,
my
we
mom
have an
might be
issue.
listening.
Good Lord. I forgot what we were talking about. I'm so mortified.
Contract brewing.
Contract brewing. So, the Detroit Brewing Company, when I was making the Detroit Dwarf and the Detroit Lager, I was making it a bunch of different places, right? Look at manufacturing and Atwater Block and Michigan Brewing Company and all these breweries that had space because they were having trouble. And so I would go in there and, help them figure this or that thing out, and in exchange would make these beers at their facilities. But I was working there almost full-time mostly, doing other things for them or whatever. And so contract brewing doesn't scare me at all. We've won GABF medals for the Pilsner that we used to make, the Detroit Lager, and several in World Beer Cups as well for the Detroit Dwarf at a number of different breweries, right? It's not just one water source. It's not just one brewery. It's several, and trying to mimic the same beer over and over again at those places is challenging. So it's an additional challenge that I find really interesting. But I don't know. We're talking about it. I would like to, but the beer would have to be perfect.
Yeah, you'd have to know that it's on the level that it stays while it's in house.
We have to have the guts to dump a 400 barrel batch if we're going to go on contract.
Sure.
Right? And that's not cheap, man. That's a lot of money. That's like a new car money. So it's it's intimidating and all that kind of stuff. But we're, in conversations now with a couple of different folks.
It'd be a good reality show.
Yeah, fuck that.
So
be on TV.
Except for today.
Yeah, today. Well,
here's a wild question I don't think we've ever asked.
Tuesday.
Is there a brewery, either locally or internationally, that you'd like to collaborate with, maybe make a beer with, and just kind of bounce some styles off? And
Banger.
I kind of knew you were going to go to that one. So let's bring it more locally, Michigan. So is there somebody that you really like?
I really love Brewery Vivant a lot.
I was thinking that today too. I feel like they don't get enough love.
I know they don't, man.
That IPA I bought last week was phenomenal,
But
and they are
like
such
everything.
Well, yeah, and they're such a great company. Like they're a B Corp, I believe, so they're doing good things for the environment.
For sure.
I don't know. I just don't think that they get enough love, and I feel like they're so humble about what they do.
That really is the thing, right? That they are. And sometimes they stretch out a lot, right? And so sometimes those things are home runs, and sometimes they're standing doubles, and sometimes they're strikeouts. That's how it works. And I think they probably get more shit for those small releases they do that may or may not work for folks than they get accolades for the fantastic beer that they make all the time.
The best example of that is Wizard Burial Ground and Mac Wizard.
Yep.
Right? Just because you don't like a peaty Scotch, kind of deal. Not you specifically, but
I don't.
The royal you.
the royal you. Doesn't mean that it's a bad beer. It means that you don't like that beer.
It means you don't like it.
Yeah.
Right, but they told you that's what it was.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what blows my mind, man.
Yeah.
Is when a brewery goes to the extent of saying, look, we feel strongly about this. We're doing this. This is the way that we did it. When they're completely upfront and honest like those guys at Vivant are. And folks give them shit. I understand you spend money on a 4-pack of beer and you don't like it, and that sucks, right? I'm not saying people shouldn't criticize, but I am saying that on balance, Brewery Vivant should be more popular than I think they are because they're fantastic.
Well, they did that fun collaboration with Witch's Hat last year. And they did the Saison and the Hazy IPA, so maybe you guys can get together and make a little some.
Yeah. Well,
Big Red Boss.
I know Jacob Derillo out there for years. He was the assistant to a buddy of mine, John Haggerty, who used to be the brewmaster at New Holland.
Who's coming to the Lager Festival?
Yeah, he owns a brewery in Dayton now called Warped Wing, and
I've been there.
Have you really?
Yes.
Oh, that's my man,
my
Johnny
God.
Midnight.
I wish people I wish my friends listened because I kept calling it War Pig on accident, which is another brewery, I believe.
Yeah.
And my cousin, you can literally look out his apartment and see Warped Wing, and
Really?
they gave me so much shit for misnaming it or whatever. But we hang out there all the time when I go down to Dayton.
Can
It's
you
a
have him
great
stop in
town.
Fairborn and bring me some brownies?
I don't think he would.
Oh, okay.
No, he probably wouldn't stop in Fairborn for me.
So you like,
Is that kinda
you know, you really want to maybe one day brew over at Vivant or with Vivant, and I know you can get them over at Brown Iron Brew House over in Washington
A
Township.
fantastic place to
Absolutely.
drink.
All
yeah.
69
know-
taps now that the patio's open.
Yeah, Tart Side of the Moon. You know, it's really it's amazing what you could do when you have your headset on. You know what your volume is because nobody heard you.
Look,
there.
these are all
I f-
broken.
I feel like I have to like ask you every single time.
I feel weird wearing these.
You're such a nerd with your headphones on. Who are you?
I don't know.
Take them off, Matt. Shut up.
Shut up, Matt Bush. $5 off WIFOL.BEER.
Fine. I'm Team Matt.
So you can go over to Brown Iron Brew House over in Washington Township, Van Dyke Road, just north of 26 Mile. Check them out. Plenty of beers, great food, including Vivant's Tart Side of the Moon. I'm actually going to look real quick and see if they have any Old Nation. They have Cart Horse, Boss Tweed,
I think
both
we-
on draft. Unless one
And
of them
maybe
might have got tipped.
M43 too.
We've been short on kegs. Super short.
So make sure you turn in your kegs, folks.
Yeah, didn't you have like
No,
a
no, no.
keg-
I mean, we
didn't you-
haven't been.
Didn't you guys have a whole keg issue? Like kegs like not coming back to you?
Like every brewery, it's just it's part of the game.
Yeah.
we
It
would
can be
love
real
to.
problematic. But that's solved. The problem now is just throwing
enough
enough
beer to
beer
put
in
in.
kegs, you know?
Because I mean, so there wasn't like a steel drum band society starting somewhere.
I don't know.
And then you were
we
the.
don't know. We can never know. They're just gone.
So it looks like we're gonna do a little bit of a vert. So do we want to take a break real quick and go?
Yeah,
from there?
we'll take a quick break. Angela and Mark are chatting about the beers. We're gonna do a Boss Tweed Vert when we come back.
Boss Tweed barley one at this point, right?
I don't think that's how that works.
Travis,
It's Boss Tweed 120.
Boss Tweed 120.
120.
We'll be right back. Better on Draft
Is it
Podcast.
already that time?
Almost.
couple minutes. Hey guys, it's Matt from the Better on Draft podcast. If you're like me, anytime you go out, whether it's to a bar or out with friends, you're always going to grab the newest, hottest craft beer. You're always going to ask the waitstaff what's new, and when you go to your friend's house, you're going to ask and grab the newest thing that you've never had in the back of their fridge. The worst part about craft beer is when you find a beer that you love that's new, you never know where to find it. Well, I'll tell you what, stop looking at Kroger, stop looking at Meijer. Go to Zatuna Liquor in Rochester Hills, just south of 59 on Rochester Road. If it's out there, if it's in cans, if it's in bottles, Jack has it. Stop in, say hi to Jack or Gus. Get that beer that you've been traveling all over the city for in one stop. While you're there, top of the line liquor, great cigars, everything you need to make you happy is at Zatuna Liquor, just south of M59 in Rochester Hills on Rochester Road.
go, or even information on their new and experimental releases? Or is it their new full menu program that pairs well with the brown ale? Why not head over there for yourself, test your knowledge Wednesday nights with some pub trivia, and tell them we sent you. You can find them on North Center Road, just south of 8 Mile in Northville, Michigan. They're open Tuesday to Sunday, but you can also find them on Facebook under the name North Center Brewing Company. Cheers.
Are you moving?
And we are back, Better on Draft Podcast, episode 132, Old Nation Brewing, part 3. We have the Leaning Tower of Solo. Not to be confused, of course, with the, I was going to say, with the movie. I did have a, it did just come out. So another guy, friend of the show from the Herd Podcast, Nick Britsky.
Yeah.
So he went to, I brought that. You're welcome. He went to the premiere for Solo, dressed up as a Solo cup.
My man.
Right on.
So
Right on. I get it.
He could have. I'm gonna reserve my comment there.
Wait, there's a joke in there somewhere. Hang on.
He's a cool. Yeah, I love that dude.
So during the break, you guys yelled at us
Yeah.
to talk about something. So
We yelled.
how's that for a segue to talk about?
That's
it?
perfect.
Well,
That's actually perfect.
Two of the most soft-spoken people.
So your Wiffle Fest will be
Yeah,
actually
yeah.
in support of a good cause.
Yes.
It is. So it's a local charity in Williamston. It's a family that we know really well. They have kids in the same school our kids go to, but it's called Weekend Survival Kits, and the point of this charity is to give food insecure kids. It started out covering mostly rural poverty, but it's now in Wayne County. To give food insecure kids backpacks essentially full of food that they can eat over the weekend. I mean, there are a ton of kids. I'm not trying to get in my soapbox, but I think a lot of folks don't know that there are a ton of kids who, no matter if their parents are present or, working or not working, it's sometimes tough to make ends meet. And one of the things that falls is food, or at least proper nutrition for kids. And so, in my opinion, it's crucial. And we've been giving, as Old Nation, a lot to this charity, and are happy to. And one of the things we worked up with them was to do a festival, and that's this lager festival. So I do love lager, and I went on and on about all these German beers, and all that's true. But ultimately, the reason why we're taking a risk here, is in order to help this charity, right? They won't lose any money throughout this process. And hopefully, if enough folks show up, and it really doesn't take that much, they'll actually make some money. And if we reach our goal of 1,100 tickets, which we may or may not this year, then we know we feed over 330 food insecure kids every weekend for a year.
Wow.
Which is something,
And you can get tickets over at WIFOL.BEER using the promo code ShutUpMattBush.
Yes.
Now, does that go to 329 if they type it, "Shut Up Matt Bush," because they're giving $5 off?
No, we took your promo code into consideration specifically
Okay.
to make sure that.
So you
Absolutely.
had upped it.
Yeah,
Just
the
to
one.
make okay.
The one. I'll just throw in $5.
Okay. So the one kid who not going to get food, you're going to
I'll take care of
have
it.
him,
Man,
have him over.
shut
And
up.
No problem. Yeah,
well, I
no.
feel bad now that
What we want is every ticket over a certain number buys another kid a little bit of food, and whatever that is this year is what it is, and we'll continue to do this and
So-
continue to try and feed these kids.
I, as Better on Draft, will work with you guys. For every ticket sold under the tag Shut Up Matt Bush,
whoa, it's getting aggressive.
I will pay that $5.
What?
As Better on Draft.
All right, here's the deal. All right, guys, you on Twitch and you guys that are going to be listening to this shortly, let's please empty Ken's bank account. That would be great.
Ken specifically.
Ken.
Oh no, this is Better on Draft. That's pay. I mean, that's pretty much me, anyways. But still, Better on Draft is pay. Speaking of,
We'll work
So
with
we
you.
might not have
We'll
a
work
show
with you
next
on it.
week.
Don't get fucked on this. We'll work with you.
Oh no. So we'll definitely do it, and obviously, we do our show and we run in the black. We're able to do all these promotions and stuff thanks to our sponsors. So real quick, I'll just throw in their Spokal trivia. Go check them out. Brown Iron Brew House over in Washington Township, North Center Brewing, and Zatuna Liquor. They are the ones that are going to make this possible. So again, if you go to WIFOL.BEER and you hit the purchase tickets button using the promo code ShutUpMattBush,
Jesus Christ. I think I should
We
go.
have- honestly, it was my favorite thing that I did today or yesterday or whenever I did it. It was my
Hold on,
favorite
you
thing.
prepared for this?
I told Ken that
I
I
knew
was
about
about
it.
Let's make this up. Hell yeah.
He told me about it.
With
I'm
friends
like,
like these, who needs enemies?
So I can tell you, here's where it came from. I had just
love.
Ken hates IPAs.
I had that was the first one. But I
But
had
that
just
wasn't evil enough.
I had just listened to the Pipe and Brock episode from a few weeks back,
My man.
so I was inspired by John.
Shout out to John Piper
Oh,
Brock.
man, okay. Like if he did have an action figure and you pulled a string,
Yeah.
that's what it would say.
Yeah, he gave us some love that time. So John, we love you.
That was pretty sweet.
Yeah.
We'll make sure to message him. But yeah, so you guys tell us how many people use the promo code.
I think I should-
Already 1,000. Already 1,000.
I just checked. It was 1,004.
Although it's still not trending on Twitter, so I wonder how long it's going to take for
It's
people
just a
to
matter
start
of
using.
time.
I mean, this one is a slow burn. Let it be a slow burn.
I feel like I'm like Salem Witch Hunt adjacent.
Push it. You push it right off the cliff.
Yeah, it's gonna be a
So, were there any legalities for a beer-centric event sponsoring a kid charity?
So first of all, the city of Williamston has been more than amazing
They're great.
to help us out with this.
Truly.
The city council was just awesome. They walked us through the process. No, the short answer is no, not even a little bit. There were, I think, of the breweries that I contacted, there was one brewery who said, we'd love to, but because it's a kid type thing, and because of that kid thing, then we don't want that to be part of our deal. And I tried to re-explain, and they didn't want to do it. But
Wow.
but beyond that, I mean, I contacted a fair amount of breweries, probably 50 breweries. So bottom line is that the city's been great. The folks at Weekend Survival Kits that have been helping us put this together, or that we've been helping them put this together, they've been great. And at the very least, I mean, come to the festival, don't come to the festival, donate right to Weekend Survival Kits.
Yeah, right. Absolutely. Right. If you don't want to come to the festival, that's fine. Check out Weekend Survival Kits. They truly are doing, I think, important work.
And again, one more time, you can see even the Weekend Survival Kits info, WIFOL.BEER. You can get your tickets. Promo code Shut Up Matt Bush, $5 off. Either the VIP or the regular general admission, you still get $5 off. There's info on hotels too, so that you don't drink and drive. Information on how to contact, how to donate to Weekend Survival Kits. So a lot of information on that website for you to be able to find all of that information, including the information on the live music.
Yes.
Solstice,
absolutely.
Global Village, and Frog and the Beef Tones.
Frog and the Beef Tones. It is way less ridiculous than it sounds, folks. Come on out. It's truly one of my favorite guitar players.
I noticed, based on at least the photos, a very general, like at least for the first two, a lot of brass.
A lot of brass. Yeah, fair amount. But I mean, these are folks that have been playing professionally for, 35, 40 years. I mean, these people are not joking around, right? And they've been getting better over that period of time. And for me, for my money, it's just like beer, right? For my money, I'd rather hear somebody who's been doing one thing and getting better and better at it over the course of decades, than something that's going to freak me out most days, right? And that's these guys. I mean, just truly, truly fantastic musicians. in all
So
these bands.
let's get a little personal real quick, because I want to ask you a question. So prior to
On the
you,
lights.
How personal?
prior to you going to Germany,
Yeah.
what is it you wanted to do when you grew up?
Well, I was going to school to be a teacher. I was going to school to be a science teacher, and I wanted to be a science teacher and a football coach.
Science teacher and a
I
football
wanted to
coach.
coach football.
My
teach
my
science.
biology teacher was one of my football coaches.
I think every football
Mine was a
coach is
wrestling
also-
coach, yeah. but yeah. I mean, that is what I loved, man. I truly loved science, and I really, really loved coaching kids and teaching kids, and I thought that would be great. But I ran out of money doing that. And that's why I ended up being a brewer. So I just straight up ran out of money trying to be a teacher.
So what you're saying is everybody out there who's struggling should become a brewer.
Yeah, sell everything you own, right? And take that money and move to a foreign country and study something that you have no real clue about outside of sort of basic scientific tenets. And then
Now, did you speak?
come back and spend 16 years being broke.
Did you speak German before you went to Germany? Or
I
is it-
did, yeah. I
Okay.
was an exchange student in high school.
So
I
that
got
kinda
a
helped.
scholarship. Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
go to a foreign country where you speak the language.
Yeah, you should speak the language. It's easier.
or
for
at least get
go to
concepts of said language.
I mean, you can go to a country that just speaks English, like the United Kingdom.
Yeah,
or-
you could do that.
You could if you want to be lazy or cheap. I mean,
I mean, sure.
Hot take. Say hot take.
Somebody hit the bell. Yeah.
now we got people requesting the bell.
Yeah,
My, how we've come full circle.
I didn't actually want the bell.
it was sarcasm. Sarcasm, though.
The sarcasm bell.
So,
Need a different bell.
but before we continue, you guys, I poured from Maine Beer Co. that King Titus. Wow, this is really good.
It's fucking incredible.
That's a great beer.
dude. It's that good.
did not
It's
last
when
very
I tell
long.
you that it doesn't come to Michigan. Is
Yeah,
when
man.
you're
Yeah.
like,
All right, throw me a cup.
I mean, there's nothing about that beer that's not exactly what it should be, right?
Yeah, and that so it scared me because it's been sitting on my shelf cellaring, on my bookshelf because I don't have many books.
Holy shit.
Yeah, man.
Finish your glass. We've all poured a glass,
No, I
so
did.
grab a
Yeah.
glass.
Yeah.
No, you poured a little sip.
Yeah, because I don't like it as much as I like other beers.
Oh, okay.
So I'm not
Well,
going to
then you
give this
can- you can
my quarter
give it
star.
back to me.
It's great.
I'll
Very good, man. It's yours.
Take it.
It's great. Thank you for sharing it. I mean, that's a fucking great beer, dude.
Here, Ange, if you want to send that back to them, or if you want to take some more than welcome to.
That brewery doesn't miss. They don't miss.
I agree.
So that because they're big beers that everyone knows about is lunch and dinner. We were talking about that
Yeah.
before the show, which
Mo
is
and
their
Peeper and these
IPAs.
guys.
But their non-IPAs is what I love. Like Zoe Amber is definitely one of my favorite beers that they make. So Mark, you're fully sales over at Old Nation now. You don't have a second job. How's that transition been for you? Has it been crazy? I mean, sales period is always a crazy endeavor.
Not much of that at Old Nation,
It's
really.
so yeah. It's hard to call it sales. It's growth and strategy, but these are all just words, right? So what I'm trying to do is to take what was the pile of growth, or at least some of it, off of Travis, so that he can focus on a little bit more on the operation stuff. But he's still 100% involved in the. If anybody can be 200% involved,
A
it's
good
you.
relationship takes 100% on both sides.
I'm right.
And a good brewery takes somebody doing a lot of
Everything all the
shit
time. Right. So yeah, it's really not sales. I mean, there are times where we talk about putting more handles somewhere, but in general, we're talking about relationships. We want to make sure that that the people who have the beer are treating it well. That the people who,
Are you guys outside of Michigan at all?
So there's a little bit of beer in Illinois.
Outstate Illinois, it was kind of an outstate viability check in a place where there's not a lot of folks.
So yeah, and then in the second week of June, we're going to send a little bit of beer into the Atlanta market, and we've sent a little bit of beer to Sweden, and a little bit of beer to Maine.
Well, yeah, beer to Denmark, which went all the way from
Or
Greece
Denmark,
to
Yeah.
Iceland.
Right.
So
How'd you guys get the beer out there?
the plane.
Plain.
Thank you.
It's way
It wasn't logistical. I was looking at distribution side.
Is the name of the distributor. It's the dudes from Evil Twin.
Yeah.
Okay.
It is immensely easier to send beer
Rarefied air.
to Denmark. It's way easier to send beer to Denmark than it is to Ohio.
Jesus.
Way easier.
For real.
Where does it go?
Is it
Just-
because
it
Ohio-
comes off a plane and then what?
Some dude picks it up.
Yeah.
In the back of his Volkswagen?
Right.
Yeah.
Just drive
No,
it.
it's
Just drive
a Volvo,
straight.
Matt
You ask
Bush.
a great question. I have no idea how it gets off the plane.
I'm going to say
Should we take
forklift.
a,
I don't know.
like a field trip, maybe.
Definitely.
We're gonna
Follow
send
the beer.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're gonna send 5 pallets next time, guys. And we're gonna hollow out the middle. You guys take like some sack lunches.
We'll use a weekend survival
I don't
kit.
think that's funny.
Shut up, Matt Bush.
I actually do think it's funny. I just thought it was funnier to say that aggressively.
Oh shit!
So,
But you could have made it super awkward and super hysterical if you didn't caveat what you
I
just
hope
said.
so.
I'm not
hope you
comfortable
get
with
kicked.
Because I would have saved it, but I don't think he could have saved
just
it.
stare at him, just mother.
What if we just went off there?
Everything just goes silent. No, I mean, yeah, we should stow away on some pallets.
It'd be fun.
Hold on.
Yeah.
I saw Euro Trip when I was in high school. Apparently, we could just be couriers, right?
Yeah.
And we could just say we're with the package, and we could be the package's
Is that a
human
real thing, by the
survival
way?
person.
I never even thought of it.
I don't know. They didn't ask us for that when we
They
talked to
didn't
the
ask us
carrier
for
guide, so I don't
couriers,
know.
So
But-
you just trust that your beer is getting into the right hands?
Well, there.
It was a
I mean,
little
it's
bit
paid for,
longer
right? So
kinda
that's all that
process.
matters.
Yeah, there are logistic steps that
Right.
get taken, just like when our
I'm just telling
distributor
you, I don't
Imperial
know how it
shows up
exactly
and
gets off the plane.
they picked up. But that's true, we don't. I assume forklift, but
Not very strong.
So
man.
we know really as much as we do about any distributor, right? How long it takes to get where it's going, right? What its state is as it goes, where it ends up, and how it's stored at that point, and from that point to where is it distributed, right?
Do you request that it be refrefrigerated?
Of course, yeah, absolutely.
absolutely. And I tell you what, they were
They're great about
extremely compliant.
Holy shit, way more than here.
Yeah.
I mean, they were serious about it, but
Yeah.
they paid a lot for it, man. I had a buddy who lives in Franconia, which is near Bavaria.
Is
in the
that
southern
next to
part of Germany.
Stankonia?
No.
Oh, no.
No.
It's
also not nearly as cool. That's pretty cool though. And they have this brewery, and a buddy of mine runs Eichbaum. And he sent me a picture of his purchase of a can of M43, and it was €12, which I think is like $19
For one can?
can.
Holy
One can.
shit.
yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I just have to say, side note, not related to beer, I feel like Travis has a voice for a cartoon. Someone needs to make Travis into a cartoon.
Yeah.
For a reality
And,
show.
and I think that he could guest star on maybe like Big Mouth season 2.
I don't know that. I don't know that one.
I don't
It's on Netflix.
It's a stand-up little thing. Check it out.
Right on, I'm gonna check it out.
I know you're never bored either. So
Yeah, because he's got a lot of
if you can't
do nothing
sleep,
time.
Yeah.
Check it out.
Yeah, I often can.
Play it on in the background while you're brewing.
Yeah.
You know, there's
Well, I'm
if,
going to take that as a compliment.
if,
Thank you very
if
much.
you have if you have Netflix
you're very animated.
and you
right
download the episode, I think you can play the episode on your phone when it's not live on your phone, so you can just listen to it and
Right
you know,
on.
pay, visualize for yourself.
She's right, dude.
Tell like a story.
Oh my God, it's me. It's already me.
So, Mark, have you done any
That's
brewing at the
in-
brewery or
that's in
no?
your sitcom.
No, they don't let me brew.
Nope.
On purpose or
Specifically, it was
Well-
damn near written into the contract. No, it's
There's
there
a
like
way
a-
to work up.
Is there like a poster that says "Do not let this man
Yeah,
enter into
no,
the"?
Well, I
No,
mean,
there are-
Mark,
The opposite of a
right.
wanted poster.
we are short on resources, so we have to put folks in the spot that they make the company the most money, right?
yeah. It's
And Mark is
make
probably loading,
So there's a
starting out
spot for
loading
Mark?
cans into cases is not where Mark would make us the most money.
yeah. However, I did haul stacks of grain up the stairs into the old pilot system for the first batch of M43.
Once.
One stack of grain. It was a partial sack. Now that I think about it.
So let's take away from M43. Let's take away from all these delicious beers that you have. You go into the brewery tomorrow. What is that next beer you want to make? Recipe you don't have yet, or a recipe that you want to revive, maybe from prior to Old Nation?
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot. I think once you get a kind of a deep catalog, it's. What's interesting to me right now is we got this this young guy, Josh Rake, who came to us from New Holland, right? And all these young guys come in, just full of piss and vinegar, and they're ready to make, the next big
M43.
thing. And Mark said that for the listening audience, that they're looking to make the next big thing. And so a lot of these guys come in and they're like, this recipe has 50 different malts and 20 different hops, and I mean I'm exaggerating obviously.
Yeah.
And it's 15% alcohol, and let's do this, right? And our Nate and I, again coming from more of a classical sort of upbringing in beer, our perspective is tell me what your point is, right? And let's use as little as possible to make that point, right? And Josh, this kid, I mean, he's not a kid, he's 25, 26, but came in right away with this recipe that was for a honey saison, and it was perfect. It was super direct. It obviously had a point. It wasn't overdone. And he wasn't just doing shit to do shit. You know what I mean? It all worked, obviously, on paper. So that is what I would like.
So I kind of see that. I'm foreseeing that as like some sort of Shark Tank episode where you and Nate are sitting around and they're pitching you these ideas.
I'm super nice. Nate's a dick to those kids.
So you guys are in these. So you guys are.
Let me clip that one and send it to Nate.
No, he's not at all, man.
You guys are at
He
bar
works with them
stools
mostly.
and they're going through their Shark Tank presentation. And
Yeah.
you're just sitting there. But why?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's not, it's not like that exactly, but it is, what is it that you want to do, right? And that is the answer, or that is the question, right? What is it that you want to do? Well, I want to do this.
Answer crawlers.
Right, the answer crawler. What do you want to do? I want to do this. Okay, well, why do you want to do it? Right? Because the answer is because nobody has done it before. That's not enough, right? It may also be good, but the fact that you intend to freak out some squares with the thing that you're doing is not a good enough reason to do it.
So what's in this cannonball, Mark, that we just poured?
That's Mimi.
Oh,
No.
yeah.
So it's not me, it's me.
It's
I like
whatever
to
you
say
wanna call
Maine
it.
to Michigan.
Yeah. It's so this is when was this brewed?
February, I think.
Yeah.
February 12th.
So the hops have already fallen off.
Yeah, it's dead. It's dead.
Oh, it's
beer.
dead. It's dead as a doornail.
It's essentially a porter at
Sweet,
this
a
point.
little malty.
Yep.
Yeah, this is. Wow.
I found a can at home in the moving process.
Yeah, it's good. The pineapple comes through a lot more now in the flavor.
So that
And
is
only 10.3% ABV, folks, by the way.
What you don't taste though, what I don't taste in this beer is that 10.3 or 10.08.
Not at all.
That's the trick.
Yeah.
So you've been doing more events of late. How do you guys decide where you guys are going to do your, tap takeovers or your events? Like,
It's a great question.
First on the list is folks that supported us before the M43.
Yeah.
Right? So a lot of times you'll see us in counterintuitive places. Well, yeah, for the dwarf fucking only.
And Bumpy Cake. It's a nice little
Cake
brown
guys too.
ale.
You're right. Ken, for sure. I wouldn't be able to hear 3 times. You know what I mean? I give.
So there was this time. No,
Yeah, I forgot what the question was now.
how do you pick your places?
Oh yeah,
Like,
you'll
how
see
can
stuff
I get you on
that's-
the east side?
Okay, so the next event we're doing is at Horrocks, right?
What's
Which
that
is a
mean?
farmers market in Lansing, Battle Creek, and there's one in Grand Rapids now, right? But they pushed our beer before we had M43, so we do as much as we can for them. Quite often they certainly get as much beer as they want, right? And they absolutely will get, first release. They'll be the first place to have Greenstone and the new Full Earth and all that kind of stuff as well.
Do we have Full Earth? Did we drink that?
No, I could have filled it for you, but then I was like,
Ken doesn't like
get this to
IPAs.
Ken.
so
He doesn't even like IPAs.
I don't understand why
I think my
20% of the hosts.
So that's the first way. The second way are folks that continue to and do a good job of supporting us now.
Absolutely.
We went to Brown Iron on a Tuesday, Wednesday, right, and did a little mini. I mean, everything we do is a mini tap takeover. We don't because we didn't really have much more than I think we brought 6.
Yeah, it was
maybe?
great. It was a great night.
Yeah, so if we can help fill a place that supports us on a Tuesday, then we're happy to do that. We don't do a tap takeover to sell 6 kegs of beer. We do it because we want to help out the people that support us.
Now, how do I get you to the east side?
I tell you what,
We're talking like St. Clair Shores.
tell Brian Walker to set something up.
Who's
Yep.
Over at Boatworks.
Boatworks.
that? Okay, I'll make it happen.
Yeah, those guys are great.
Yeah.
I mean, there are a lot of really great bars around here.
A bunch
Those
of them.
guys are
He's
great.
just the first one off the top of my head that just churns through. Has been a great early supporter of us and churns through beer for us.
pushed.
So-
That guy pushed.
Real quick, so this is pronounced Mimi. Was that
mean,
the intention? Well, you're the fucking person
No.
selling it. I don't know why you're.
Here's what I'm
really
saying.
didn't.
Yeah, yes, it's Mimi, but I don't get mad when you change it up.
Yeah, me, my.
Yeah,
Maine
whatever.
to Michigan. People
Yeah.
say Maine to Michigan.
I have heard.
That's
I do like it. It's
That
like they
sounds
take
cool.
their time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, just want to give a little shout out because I see it's on draft actually at one of our former sponsors and one of the folks who supported us at day one, 3 Neck Scoreboard over in Allen Park.
Yeah.
So, if you
Sure
are
is.
looking for this beer live right now, you can head on over to Allen Park and check it out. Go say hi to Ryan and the scantily clad women.
Was that what?
It's a bikini bar.
Oh,
Even in the wintertime.
that
Are they
sounds-
like furry bikinis in the wintertime?
I mean, I've only
That
gone
would seem
during.
practical.
That's
I've only gone during the Bourbon
that's
County.
why those
release.
places exist for practicality.
Yeah, they had the furry hats, the Russian type hats.
Cossack.
Yeah, that
This
costs.
has been like a silly show today.
Well, I mean, the beer itself has probably not been the lowest of ABVs.
It has not. yeah,
I mean, we
we've
did
gone
go
some
through a
strong
string of
ones.
lagers here, or of the the pilsners and. The,
I mean, well, that
like
Pils
palate.
was actually really good, but as we're finishing off with 10% Mimi, Maine to Michigan, Mimi, Elemental P.
The reason why I hesitate when you ask me what it's named is because I, as a person who handles marketing and development and things like that, whenever there's any sort of ambiguity with something like that, that tells me that maybe we should have gone a different direction.
So this beer, this Mimi, fucking
Love it.
delicious.
I fucking love it, man. He loves it.
So it's probably a really bad
That's,
IPA.
that's why I brought
Ken.
it. That's why I brought
We
it.
broke.
It's probably a really bad.
It's a really
IPA.
bad triple.
You can't
Yeah.
ever just say something fucking nice.
Right.
Yes, I can.
Because when you add actually, you know what? It's actually pretty good. You sound pretty fucking surprised.
I think they were gonna.
I thought this was gonna blow.
Oh my god! But actually, it was fucking great.
To be honest, the level of triple IPAs that I like involve one, and that's 1-year-old Devil Dancer.
Now two. Now two.
That's right.
Yeah, I don't need to age that. I don't need to age this Mimi Maine to Michigan.
4 months.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's delicious. We've had it actually before on the show, and I liked it on the show.
Did you?
Um,
There you go.
So I haven't had any issues with it, but it's juicy. It's got that like little bitter back end, like right at the end of the draw, but
Kind of a snap.
Well,
juicy. But it's not a snap like a smack. It's
I
just
wish
like
you could
a
put a face
little.
on
Well,
it.
yes, Angela. What would you like to say? Hold on one second. I'm gonna mute everyone. Go on, Angela. Go on.
I have nothing to say. I'm proud of you
You're proud of me.
for opening your mind.
I've always opened my mind. The only thing I don't try is chili beers. That's not really that hard to ask.
Could
It's
you
not
do
like-
a habanero M43?
I will never drink that.
did it.
Really?
We did it for the anniversary party. We squirted some habanero shit into a keg of M43, and people liked it.
We did. We squirted the shit out of it.
We did.
We did.
Yeah.
That
It was spicy.
I'm done. I can't even handle today.
It was super gross.
Have you guys ever participated in the Cask Ale Festival over
No.
in Ashley's?
No.
No. But I was lucky enough to work with George Murphy at Arcadia in like 2002, 2003 when they were still consistently doing camera-style cask ale. So
What does that mean?
so
Camera
camera
style.
is the I'm not going to remember.
It's the thing on your
exactly
phone
what
that
it
you take pictures with?
Yeah, CAMRA, the campaign. Anyway, real ale is what they're talking about, right? Real British ale. So no forced
Campaign
carbonation.
for Real Ale.
Campaign for real ale. Not sure why the A in camera.
I don't,
Or the
but
M.
that's like camera.org.uk.
Cam from campaign and then RA real ale. But anyway, they had
Caught
this.
that faster than I did.
They had this great book, and I don't know when they published it, but it must have been before 2002. That was essentially a cellarman's guide, and it was all this really great. It was essentially it was a straight up real English publican's guide, right? And so the publican back in the day in England had as much of a role in the beer as almost anyone else in the process, right? Because the beer was shipped to this person still fermenting in the cask. So he or she had to really handle this beer as it aged and tap it at just the right time and make sure it didn't stay on for any longer than it should have and all that kind of stuff too.
So in regards to the camera books, which started in 1974,
There you go.
they're on their 45th edition in 2018.
Everybody should get one.
Wow.
Every brewer should have that book.
So, folks, if you're looking for that, camera, camra.org.uk is the website.
Yeah.
Find out all that information. Obviously, Travis probably said a lot more words that you understand more than I do.
I got
So
a
that'll help
question.
you. Go for it, Ange.
Guys, so rolling into summer because it's about to be June.
It is.
You can say lagers. I'd prefer if you didn't. But rolling, coming up the next few months, what are your top 5 beers or breweries from Michigan that you think are going to be hot this summer?
5 is a lot.
Not Old Nation.
Top
Just
3.
start
do-
off.
Can we say 3?
3 is
Three.
perfect. Yeah, I mean, because people are going to be traveling around. Hopefully, people are listening.
Man,
We want, I'm just
So,
curious.
mind
like,
you,
what
as much as we're a
guys-
podcast-specific show where a lot of people check us out
They're
after,
watching us
we've
on
got about
Twitch.
10 people right on watching us. As Angela,
that's almost a dozen, guys.
It's damn near.
that is.
It's actually a metric dozen.
I mean, if trends go up and with the amount of listeners we have based on what we had when we had you guys
They're
on
looking
last
for
year,
more,
we're gonna have a
freebies.
lot of people
Shut up,
listening to
Matt.
the show. So shut up, Matt Bush.
I hope they
WIFOL.BEER,
do it before
$5
next
off.
Saturday when we're having the Williamston International Festival of Lagers.
I'm gonna do my best to try to get this episode out tonight.
Awesome.
Yeah,
if not tomorrow morning.
Thank you.
So top 3 beers.
Post festival, you guys are like living the good life because all of that event planning is done.
Yeah.
What are you doing this summer? Where are you going to drink? What are you drinking?
Mark.
I'm headed to Atlanta because we need to send beer down there.
Hotlanta.
I'm very excited
So-
about this, by the way.
So there's a beer called Don't Call It Hotlanta.
Is it really?
No joke.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like we do up here, we're very engaged socially online, and I've been brought into the fold a little bit to like their version of some of these groups that we're all we deal with, and that started hitting the feed, and they were just blowing up how much they love the name of the beer.
Right.
So stop it.
Yeah.
Don't
So
call
Atlanta.
it Hotlanta.
But where are
Anyway,
you getting in Atlanta?
so
on Untapped, it's great. It says, "What's the fastest way to make an Atlanta native cringe? Say Hotlanta." Right. That's literally what
Yeah.
it says. On
Well,
the
are there
Untapped
people native to
description
Atlanta? I
page.
thought that was
So
just like
it's
the
a
most
it's transient
transient
town.
city in the
Yeah.
world.
Yeah.
So
like
I'm
Vegas.
gonna get down there and I'm gonna try to drink a bunch of Atlanta beer. So that's what I'm gonna try to do that first week. And and you asked before and we never answered why Atlanta, because there's a lot of space between here and there, and we're picking where we go a little bit. I think it's a little bit differently than the way a lot of breweries might do it. In that we're looking for good distributor partners who will work with us in an advantageous way. We bumped into some folks down there that were more than accommodating as it relates to what the agreement looked like, and that combined with what the market had already received some of this beer through both trading and through a festival that we did down there. Through a festival called they had a festival. Get this, you hopheads, Day of the Juice. So they brought in a few dozen at least breweries that had just hoppy beer. And
There's a lot of those popping up, actually. I feel like.
Yeah. And,
I mean, it's what's popular, so it makes sense.
Yeah.
But
So we burned through a lot of beer at that festival. The community liked it. The distributor got back a hold of us and said, "Here's what we're offering." So we did it. So I think what if we can go from Michigan to Illinois to Ohio to Wisconsin, but it's a lot more fun to go where folks are already really asking for it.
Well, and we're not hunting for volume. Right.
This is not going to be a lot of beer.
Right. And not to sound arrogant, and I know I have a lot of brewer friends that, cringe when I say this, but, I don't need to sell more beer than I'm selling right now, right? If folks want the beer that we're making, I would love to give it to them, but I have to give it to them in a context where they understand that it's not going to be around all the time, right? Because we're taking care of Michigan first. So
Michigan first, Michigan forever.
Oh, I would say the first part. For sure. For me, Michigan forever, because I love it very much. But Old Nation will go elsewhere and has already for that reason, right? Because these folks like it, and we're working with distributors in these locations that are kind of these boutique distributors. So it's a new method of distribution. They're spending more money per ounce to sell this beer, but they're curating this beer ultimately, right? And this beer doesn't necessarily need to be curated, but it's a limited supply, so it doesn't fit the traditional distributor model. You know exactly what I'm talking about.
So if I found myself in Atlanta visiting my dear friend Dante, who is from Michigan.
What up, Dante?
Shout out to Dante.
Loves Old Nation. If
Thanks,
I'm down there, what am I going to see M43 pouring for?
On June 7th, like price-wise?
Well, I guess both. Time, because he actually listens, so he might be curious.
Or like the existential reason.
Well, you were talking about prices and everything. So, is it going to be...
It's the same.
Oh, yeah, it's right. It's right there. They're not. Yeah,
we're not talking.
We're not paying $1 per ounce for that gold juice.
No, ma'am.
Ma'am.
I just no. I just want to make. I want to make it very clear that no, they're not gonna. I can't speak to how the distributor's gonna price it. However, it looks to be right along the same lines of where we're
that's
here.
awesome. I'm really excited for you guys. I've been a big fan ever since my first taste. Got a lot of friends on board as well. A lot of furry friends too. They like the juice. I still want to know what you guys are drinking this summer. Top 3 breweries, beers, whatever. Something.
There's a lot of great stuff in Michigan.
Whatever feels.
What's in your fridge right now?
Can I tell you what I just had the other day that I wanted to go back and I wanted to never leave? It was I was at Ascension the other day and I had Mo 3, which is their triple hopped mosaic hazy beer. And I stepped Brandon, the head brewer, was sitting there at the corner bar, and I just said, "This is just the best example of this beer. It was so good."
They're
That's
doing great
example.
stuff.
Yeah.
I've been hounding them. I'm like, okay, if you're listening, Ascension, I'm trying to plan an event with you, so hit me up in my email.
They made a sour brown that was just so good.
I think most of their stuff
Yeah.
is really
Yeah.
good. And right there's like this nexus of not really underappreciated, but just they don't make a lot of beer, but they're great.
They're not distributing
Right.
statewide or.
But there's like Ascension, there's like Witch's Hat. I mean,
Right.
those
They're
are
great,
two
yeah.
breweries particularly who like everything they make is at least what it says it's supposed to be,
Absolutely.
Yep.
right? And usually is fantastic.
Well, you got like Drafting Table and Draft Horse right over there too. Which
Oh,
is
also great.
amazing.
Yeah, absolutely.
That little section of heaven and River's Edge is right not too far away.
Also great beer, yeah.
Like coming to
But
the
that
Lager
Grand
Festival.
River, they call it the Grand River Ale Trail, and we
Yeah.
are like the westernmost on what they call the Grand River Ale.
River's Edge will be at the Lager
east
Festival.
or
by the way.
west of Ellison?
East.
East of them. Yeah.
So so they don't get to the
I-
not the
yeah,
west part of the Grand.
I think they're on the.
You're
they're on
the
list
west
too.
part.
They're on Dawn Avenue, which is like an industrial park off of Grand River.
I've been there once. Finding parking was very fun.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to assume that we're drinking all great Michigan beer all summer long. I got another question
What
for
are you drinking, Angela?
I'm drinking Old Nation everything.
Boom.
What is
Thanks, Angela.
let's real quick because I think we're running out of time.
Also, what a
we
Dante.
ran out of time. He's the
Remember,
best.
I run this show. Let's keep going.
We need to know what kind of what's the next release? Like what I mean, we have to look forward to something. So give us something.
You had Greenstone, Full Earth.
It was
is,
amazing, delicious, tremendous.
See?
Full Earth Double IPA.
There he is. That's
Full Earth Double IPA.
Is it too early to talk about the fall?
No.
Never too early.
A pumpkin double IPA?
It's June. We need to start thinking about December.
Pumpkin Oktoberfest double
it's
IPA.
definitely too early to talk
shit,
about the
rum,
fall.
tequila.
Well, we'll see.
We'll save that for next time.
Right, we'll see. There's a lot that has to
Pumpkin
work out for
43?
us to do anything other than M43 and whatever else is happening. Boss Tweed and Cart Horse will definitely come out in the fall again.
Yeah.
Right?
Perfect.
So Boss Tweed and Cart Horse will be September to March. Greenstone and Full Earth will be March to September. Then we got those New England IPAs covered. And as we can increase capacity or increase flexibility and capacity, we'll release other brands.
Do you
But it's
foresee
difficult to
Boss
say what.
Tweed seeing a big release again in the fall? Like, do you think you're
There's
going to have
gonna
a
have
party
to be.
about it? Like, hey, Boss Tweed's back, have a Boss Tweed party?
Yeah, I mean, I don't. So releases are. I think any honest brewer would tell you that releases are really profitable, right? Because you're cutting out 3 tiers of the 3-tier system and establishing the price after those folks take their cut.
Not to mention, I'm assuming they spend a lot of extra coming in.
For sure.
I know
It's-
I do every time, buying a
yes.
few beers and then dinner for waiting.
It's just super, super lucrative, right? But we'll do releases moving forward. But I don't love the idea of a release. And so particularly when we are putting out new beers this summer, we're doing this Greenstone, which is not brand new, right? We had a little bit last year. And this Full Earth, which is brand new, and we're not doing a release, right? We're only keeping 25 or 30 cases at the brewery to sell. The rest of it is going out into the market, right? Part of that is kind of an emotional response to what happened with the Strawberry M43. And part of it is just trying something new. So we'll see where we go.
See, I love your releases because I love the Facebook updates.
Yes.
And the pissed offness of everyone. It really feeds my soul.
Oh, I hate it.
Yeah,
Like-
your troll soul. Your
my
inner
God.
troll.
Like,
I
Your
can't
dark,
keep
dark
up with
soul.
everything, but I think
black
that Tony and Dakby is up to like 30-something Strawberry
Café.
M40.
My man.
Yeah. Well, I
Hey,
should
now
say.
we should say congratulations to Tony.
Should
Tony.
we?
Yeah, it's
Is
it's
it
Does he
No?
listen?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He should
Yeah.
listen.
even if he doesn't.
Oh, if it doesn't, it doesn't matter.
Tony
and
and
Whitney.
Tony and Whitney had a baby last
Yeah.
night. So
oh, yes.
yeah. So congrats to Tony and Whitney.
Yeah.
Did they name
Do you
it
think he drank
Tart
an M40?
Strawberry?
They did. They named it Tart Strawberry.
Tart Strawberry Cafeo.
I was
For
going to
real.
say TS Cafe.
For real. Yeah.
Instead of like T.S. Eliot, it's
That
TS
actually
Cafe.
sounds pretty rad.
I was going to say, yeah.
I may or may not be texting Tony right
T.S.
now.
Quinn?
It's not too late.
12-year-old.
This is what you get,
12-year-old
folks.
TS. Why
This is what
my
you
name
get if you
TS?
participate in the beer scene.
Right.
Right? You get your baby lauded on the Better on Draft podcast. Can you imagine?
So, guys, that's going to do it for us here, Better on Draft Podcast. Old Nation, guys, thanks for coming on.
Hey,
We
thanks, guys, for
appreciate
having
it.
us.
We love seeing your growth. Obviously, as our shows continued, we've just seen you grow exponentially. You're going to go at least double this year. I don't know what's going to be the future, but obviously we'll have you on again to
Hotlanta.
talk
Of
about it. Don't call it Hotlanta.
Don't call it.
It's been here for years.
It's been here. No, that's
I
But it
know.
does fit rhythmically.
that's a mute for Matt. So that's going to do it for us here at Better on Draft Podcast. Sporkle Live Trivia, North Center Brewing, Brown Iron Brew House, and Zatuna Liquor. Don't forget to check them all out. We appreciate their sponsorships. Old Nation, go check them out over in Williamston, Michigan. They have plenty of beers on draft, including a delicious brown, the Electron Brown right now.
Truly.
Go check it out, as well as, I guess, all the other IPAs and stuff that they
One or
do.
two.
Like, oh,
7.
7, 10. I mean, we have 12 taps, 10ers.
They're 4 right now. There's 4 on right now.
IPAs.
Yeah.
So no matter what you think of your beer, we think it's Better on Draft. Have a good night. Where's Rob? Hold on. Peace.
Hey guys, it's Matt from the Better on Draft podcast. If you're like me, anytime you go out, whether it's to a bar or out with friends, you're always going to grab the newest, hottest craft beer. You're always going to ask the waitstaff what's new, and when you go to your friend's house, you're going to ask and grab the newest thing that you've never had in the back of their fridge. The worst part about craft beer is when you find a beer that you love that's new, you never know where to find it. Well, I'll tell you what, stop looking at Kroger, stop looking at Meijer. Go to Zatuna Liquor in Rochester Hills, just south of 59 on Rochester Road. If it's out there, if it's in cans, if it's in bottles, Jack has it. Stop in, say hi to Jack or Gus. Get that beer that you've been traveling all over the city for in one stop. While you're there, top of the line liquor, great cigars, everything you need to make you happy is at Zatuna Liquor, just south of M59 in Rochester Hills on Rochester Road.
Why do we love it so much? Is it their beer club membership that gets you discounts on food, beer, and even beer to go? Or even information on their new and experimental releases? Or is it their new full menu program that pairs well with the brown ale? Why not head over there for yourself, test your knowledge Wednesday nights with some pub trivia, and tell them we sent you. You can find them on North Center Road, just south of 8 Mile in Northville, Michigan. They're open Tuesday to Sunday, but you can also find them on Facebook under the name North Center Brewing Company. Cheers.